My boyfriend invited me to a high-end Western restaurant, and I wanted to cheat my parents of the 10 million inheritance. But I had already donated the inheritance to the orphanage, and at this moment he was actually angry and took all the cash from me. I was about to chase, but I was stopped by the waiter in the restaurant, and I had to settle the bill before letting the 2 waiters surround me, saying that I had spent a total of 760 yuan, and I was not allowed to leave if I had no money. I was secretly muttering at the time, could this handsome guy be a cowherd raised by a rich woman? When he was about to leave, he bumped into me at the door, looked me up and down. His face was full of ridicule, and he complained that my IQ was worrying. He was the stupidest girl he had ever seen. I exploded on the spot, and angrily replied that he looked like a little white face, and the 2 of them scolded each other on the spot. Guan Shichin was scolded by me to turn black, and directly ordered the waiter to call the police to deal with me who ate the overlord's meal and insulted the guests. I was instantly frightened and pale, hurriedly begged for mercy, crying and saying that I was a good law-abiding person, willing to stay to work to pay off debts, and I could do all the dishes, washing dishes, vegetables, and chores. Guan Shichin saw that I was really pitiful and funny, and finally let go and agreed to let me stay in the restaurant to work to pay off the debt. So I stayed in the kitchen to work to pay off the debt. In a blink of an eye, the initiator Shen Qianshan completely disappeared. Every time I thought of his calculations and vexatiousness, I was angry. This day my colleague brows and stomach pain was uncomfortable. Please help me send the fruit salad to table 10. I changed into the waiter's overalls and walked into the hall with the meal, and recognized the man at table 10 at a glance. It was Guan Shichin who quarreled with me before. Susan Shan kept showing off her family background in a high-profile manner. Crazy confession. Insisting on marrying Guan Shichin. The sense of superiority between words was bursting, and she also disliked me in public for dressing rustic, ordinary appearance, and being mean to drive me away. Su Shanshan was so angry that she immediately called the lobby manager and insisted on firing me. I hurriedly explained that I owed debts to work and repay debts, and I must be honest, this stupid speech directly amused Guan Shichin. Su Shanshan saw that Guan Shichin was biased towards me everywhere, and was so angry that she threatened never to come to this restaurant again to consume. Guan Shichin mercilessly directly ordered, permanently banning Susan Shan from stepping into her own restaurant, and directly looked at me and the staff in the audience for some operation. And after driving away the difficult blind date, Guan Shichin stared at me with great interest, curiously asked my brother what other interesting things he had said. I quietly reminded him while no one was close. Don't hook up with other women in front of the proprietress, even if you are a little white face. You must have professional ethics. After saying that, patted him on the shoulder and turned around to continue working, leaving Guan Shichin alone in place with a puzzled face. Afterwards Guan Shichin drove a luxury car on the road, full of irritability to cope with endless family trivialities and my mother's urging to get married, and accidentally caught a glimpse of me on the side of the road when I was waiting for a red light. I was wearing a funny double ponytail, and I was looking for things around with my head down. He recognized the funny girl who owed him money for the restaurant at a glance, and then pressed the horn, and the screeching sound of the car instantly caught my attention. I looked up and saw a handsome and temperamental guy standing in front of me, and my heart was pounding all of a sudden. But when I saw clearly what he looked like, he wilted in an instant after making trouble for a long time. It turned out to be the little white face who was taken care of, and he was happy in vain. He asked me, "What are you looking for? Lost something?" I glanced at him angrily, then looked for me and replied to him, "I didn't lose it." He asked again, "Then what are you doing on the road?" "It's like looking for treasure. Every time he sees me, he seems to be very curious." I bent over and looked around and said, "I want to pick up $15 on the ground." He was even more confused. "What are you doing with 15 yuan? Why doesn't this man have any common sense of life?" I looked up impatiently and scolded him. "Big brother, you don't need money to take the bus. I'm penniless now. I want to go home. It's still 15 kilometers from here. You can't let me walk back, right?" I'm really convinced. Every time I meet him, my luck is not good. Finally finished paying off the debt, I was able to go back to my nest, and this annoying little white face wanted to come out to annoy me. As I was talking, a bus came in the distance, and I was so anxious that I had to look at him sitting in the sports car and asked in a low voice, "Can you lend me 15 yuan? When he saw that I was in a hurry, he deliberately teased me and said with an innocent face, "I never go out with such a small amount of money." As soon as he finished speaking, the bus drove away mercilessly. I was so anxious that I grabbed the door of his sports car and shouted, "There's always a $20 coin, right?" He was also deliberately angry with me, raised his eyebrows and said, "In your eyes, 20 coins is a lot." Seeing that I was about to cry, he was very happy. I asked again, "What? There should always be 50 yuan, right?" He rubbed his chin and asked me, "Why should I borrow you? Who am I?" Seeing that another bus was leaving, I was so angry that I wanted to beat him up. So I casually said, "My brother said that saving a person's life is better than building a 7th level pagoda. You are so miserable. You can't help me." He frowned and asked, "What's wrong with me?" I blurted out, The little white face who relies on selling face to eat soft rice. As soon as he finished saying this, the next bus stopped. I was so anxious that I caught a glimpse of a 20 yuan coin on his steering wheel, and before he could react, I grabbed the coin and ran to the bus stop. Halfway through the run and turned around and shouted, "I will lend you these 20 yuan. I work at a coffee shop 20 meters to the right of the Regal building. You have time to come and get it. Bye bye." After shouting, I squeezed on the bus and ran. Guan Shichin, who was sitting in the sports car, was stunned. What does this little woman mean? Say he is a little white face who sells his face and eats soft rice. Dare to rob him of his money. He was stunned on the side of the road for a long time. Guan Shichin whistled home, and as soon as he entered the door, he felt something was wrong. And there was a beautiful woman who looked like a supermodel sitting on the sofa in the living room. It was his mother Lin Chiwei, and he instantly tensed his nerves. He hurriedly offered his courtesy. "Ms. Lin, didn't you go to Korean Beauty with your girlfriend? This effect is also too good. More beautiful than Miss Hong Kong." But his words did not bring a good face. Lin Chiwei was wearing a fuchsia tight skirt, with her legs crossed, holding a teacup, and shouting with a cold face, "Unfilial son, come over to me." Guan Shichin also played poorly. "Mom, I have legs. You haven't taught me how to roll. Teach me." Ouch. His ears were suddenly grabbed by Lin Chiwei. He begged for mercy in pain. Mom, I was wrong. Be light." Lin Chiwei pulled him to the sofa and asked fiercely, "Su Shanshan, who I introduced to you before I went to South Korea. Why did you offend people?" The more Lin Chiwei thought about it, the more angry she became. She asked her friend to find a partner with a clean family background for her son. Susan Shan is the daughter of the Su family, although she is arrogant, but much stronger than those star models around her son. As a result, Guan Shichin made people cry on her first blind date, causing her to have to answer complaint calls in South Korea. Guan Shichin looked aggrieved. "I didn't provoke her. It's because she was unreasonable and insisted on firing the innocent waiter. Otherwise she wouldn't come to our restaurant. I just fulfilled her." Lin Chiwei didn't care about this, and said arrogantly, "I don't care. You are almost 30. People are married and have children. I want to hold my grandson, but you are romantic all day long." Guan Zaikin's face turned cold. "Don't find a partner for me privately. I don't like people like Su Shanshan. I make my own decisions about my own marriage. What's wrong with not getting married at the age of 30? I won't marry without a woman worthy of my marriage." Lin Chiwei was so angry that she pinched him. "Do you want to be romantic for the rest of your life? I tell your dad. You want to rebel." Guan Shichin scolded her. "It has nothing to do with rebellion if you don't get married." Lin Chiwei was crazy. "Don't call me mom if you don't get married." Guan Shichin deliberately angered her. "Obey the order." "Ms. Lin." Ouch. Another slap. Lin Chiwei said cruelly, "If you don't get married, don't want to go home." Guan Shichin said helplessly, "Okay, I'll go. So you don't have to worry about it." He avoided his mother's pursuit, went back to his room, packed a few clothes, and walked downstairs in style. Lin Chiwei was stunned. "What are you doing? Running away from home makes you out of sight." Guan Shichin threw a kiss. "Goodbye to Ms. Lin." With a bang, the door closed. Guan Shichin drove out in a sports car, answering the phone while driving, and on the phone was his girlfriend asking him to attend a concert. And he said angrily, "I was kicked out by my mother. How can I be in the mood to listen to the concert? Don't ask me out for dinner and shopping. I don't want to be kaisi." The more he thought about it, the more annoyed he became. There was a forced marriage mother at home, and there was a group of women outside who only wanted to spend his money. Why are the women in the world so troublesome? He was thinking about whether to go to the hotel or find a friend to borrow a house, when he suddenly saw a coffee shop on the side of the road, called Just Waiting for You to Come to the Cafe. The name is quite special. The facade is not big, but the decoration is quite chic, and there are few guests in it. He hung up the phone, stopped the car and walked in. The waiter asked enthusiastically, "Sir, how many?" He said, "One person." I found a conspicuous seat and sat down, and I saw a handsome guy sitting opposite. Listening to the person opposite him casually. "That's me." I turned my back to him. He didn't see my face clearly, but he felt that my back was quite familiar. I was nagging my brother Fong Jihan. "Little brother, I still can't figure it out. My house is rented out. Why should the rent be stored in your card?" "That's my house." My brother raised his eyebrows. "I came up with the idea of renting a house. Isn't it too much to share half of me?" I scratched my head. "But the other half has to be given to you too." My brother was helpless. "You rent out the house. Where do you live? Do I have to pay rent to live in my house? For the sake of siblings, I will only charge you half." Which is interesting. I thought for a long time, and said stupidly, "It seems to be two." Guan Shichin couldn't help but laugh out loud, and we both looked over. As soon as I turned around, I was stunned on the spot. Why did this little white face come to my coffee shop? Oh yes, I still owe him 20 yuan, and I must be here to ask for money. Guan Shichin was also stunned. It was actually me. And she was so much different from her brother. Her brother was handsome and smart, but she was stupid. My brother Fong Jihan was also stunned. "Isn't this the president of Guan Security? My sister. This fool. How could she know him?" Just wondering. A delicate woman walked up to Guan Shichin. sat down without waiting for his consent, and introduced herself. My name is Sue Lily. I am the deputy director of the modeling agency. You look so good. Do you want to audition in our company? As he spoke, he grabbed his hand. And I was stunned this little white face was actually eaten tofu in public. Suddenly a sexy beauty rushed in again, tore Sue Lily away, and scolded, "Dead Sanba, let him go." Sue Lily was also on fire. "Who are you?" The beauty pinched her waist and said, "I am Guan Saikin's girlfriend Li Jiahui. Do you dare to seduce my husband?" "Vixen." Sue Lily was not to be outdone. "You are a vixen. Obviously you are stalking." The two quarreled so fiercely that Guan Saikin's face darkened, and he didn't expect Li Jiahui to come to him. I hurriedly stepped forward to persuade him. "Two beauties. I have something to say. This is a small business. Don't quarrel here." "Okay." The two of them scolded me together. "What does it have to do with you? Go away." I hurriedly said, "I am Fang Ruoxue, the store manager here. If you want to make noise, go outside. Don't delay my business." Li Jiahui was not convinced. "I'm arguing here. I'm afraid you won't be able to collect money." Sue Lily also said, "I will compensate for smashing things." I was anxious and shouted, "Two beauties. You are so good. Can you quarrel for a cowherd who relies on selling his face to eat soft rice?" Both of them were stunned, and Guan Shichin also frowned. Li Jiahui asked, "You said he was a cowherd?" I nodded. "Yes, there are many women around him who take care of him. You have such good conditions. Don't waste time on him." I also added in a low voice, "I saw him go to a restaurant with an old woman, and a woman in red went out with him." Li Jiahui exploded on the spot, and shouted at Guan Shichin, "Guan Shichin, you actually date someone behind my back. I hate you." After saying that, he ran away. Sue Lily also said regretfully, "I originally wanted you to audition, but I didn't expect you to be a cowherd." He also turned around and left. Everyone in the cafe was watching the fun. Guan Shichin stared at me. His eyes were about to kill. I was a little scared and swallowed. "You, why are you staring at me? Did I say it wrong?" He suppressed his anger and asked, "You say I'm a cowherd who relies on selling face to eat soft rice." I said innocently, "What if not? You are always with different women." Guan Shichin was going crazy, and he was about to have a seizure when the phone rang. It was his friend Luer Bai. After answering the phone, he pointed at me viciously and said, "Dead woman, remember what happened today for me." After saying that, he left angrily. I still wanted to defend myself, but my mouth was covered by my brother. My brother said helplessly, "Sister, do you know him? And say he is a cowherd." I nodded, and he patted his forehead. "Oh my god, how can I have such a stupid sister as you?" He added, "I made an appointment with a friend for a late-night snack. You take a good look at the store, close and go home early." After saying that, he left. Guan Shichin walked out of the cafe angrily and saw a rental advertisement posted on the wall. Rental house, 15 pings, monthly rent of 30,000 yuan, self-paid water, electricity and coal. Interested in finding Ms. Ling. Phone XXXXXXX. P.S. Men do not disturb. He was so angry that he tore off the advertising paper and scolded me in his heart. This fool actually regarded him as a cowherd and made him make a fool of himself in public. He crumpled the advertising paper into a ball and threw it into the car, thinking, "Don't you want to rent a house? I'll pull the ad. Let's see how you rent." He drove to meet Luer Bai. And as soon as he entered the bar, he saw Luer Bai surrounded by several beautiful women. His face darkened and he shouted, "Go away." The beauties were scared away. Luer Bai smiled and asked, "What's wrong? Who made you so angry?" Guan Shichin sat down, ordered a glass of wine, and said angrily, "Being treated as a cowherd by a fool. Do you think it's annoying?" Luer Bai laughed. "Is it really fake? Which fool is so discerning and thinks of you as a cowherd?" Guan Shichin glared at him. "Don't laugh. It was the woman named Fang Ruoxue, who had met me several times, and actually thought that I was a little white face raised by my mother." Luer Bai smiled even more happily. "If your mother dares to wrap her little white face, your father can't fly back from England to clean her up." Guan Shichin punched him on the shoulder. "Laugh at me again and beat you." Luer Bai quickly stopped laughing. Okay, stop laughing. How are you going to clean up her?" Guan Shichin drank all the wine in the cup, and his eyes were fierce. "I will definitely not make her feel better. Wait and see." I was scolding Shen Qianshan in my dreams. "You bastard. Why do you say break up? When did I become your girlfriend?" He also robbed me of my money, causing me to work for free for 2 weeks. Please explain it to me. As I was scolding, I heard the sound of slamming the door, and I suddenly opened my eyes and realized that it was a dream. The sound of slamming the door was still ringing. I looked at the clock. 12 o'clock in the middle of the night. Oh my god. Who smashed my door at this time? Could it be a ghost? I was so frightened that I quickly curled myself up under the quilt, but the knock on the door in my ears became louder and louder. Endless. I had the courage to jump out of bed, carefully walked out of the bedroom, turned on the light in the living room, timidly moved to the door, opened the door gently, and a tall man suddenly stood in front of me. Before I could react, he was like a ghost, unceremoniously pushed open my door, and rushed into the living room with a whoosh. "Did you sleep to death, knocking on the door for so long?" As soon as he entered the door, Guan Shichin became popular. I was wearing Mickey cartoon pajamas, so scared that I quickly covered my mouth and stammered. You, why are you? He carried a small LV suitcase, glanced back at me, raised his eyebrows, and sneered mockingly. Can't it be me? Saying that, he took out a piece of paper from his clothes with a snap. See clearly. Aren't you going to rent a house? He glanced at my little house full of girls. The place is small and remote. Pitiful enough. But, he smirked and turned to stare at me, who was still in a daze. I rented your house. This dead man, don't I just think of him as a cowherd? He actually retaliated against me like this, deliberately living in my small dilapidated house, just to make me restless, although this idea is quite naive. Guan Shichin has always had revenge and will definitely not let me go. I was so panicked that I quickly said, but, however, I don't rent this house to boys, and it's midnight now. How can I talk about renting at this time? I babbled in exchange for him a big roll of his eyes. Are you sexist? I quickly shook my head vigorously, like a rattle. I didn't. I definitely don't. Then less nonsense. He angrily carried the suitcase into the bedroom where I had just slept, which was a double bed and covered with a pink cartoon quilt. I followed behind and pointed at him in fright. Hey, hurry up. Otherwise, I will call the police and sue you for trespassing on a private house. This man is too arrogant. He runs to other people's houses in the middle of the night to play arrogantly. Do you really think I'm a bully? But my threat only came in exchange for his ridicule. He looked at me with a disgusted face, and even saw the eye droppings in the corners of my eyes. Miss, do I need to break into a private house? He must have been thinking in his heart. This woman is too sloppy. I quickly hugged myself and said vigilantly, how do I know what you're doing? Maybe you want to insult me in the middle of the night. This man is too dangerous. His whole body is full of charming energy. No wonder those rich women revolve around him. No matter how you look at it, they are the kind of handsome guys who can make women crazy. As soon as I finished saying this, Guan Shichin sneered helplessly. Indecent assault on you. He curled his lips and looked disdainful. Fang Ruoshue, you are not paranoid about being killed, are you? Look in the mirror. What are you worthy of my insult? I, Guan Shichin, am not hungry yet. He must be complaining in his heart. Any woman around him is 100 times better than me. I blushed when he said this, and I scolded angrily. You bastard. As he spoke, he rushed up to argue with him. But he grabbed the quilt on the bed and threw it in front of me. You sleep in the living room tonight, and I sleep in the bedroom. Hey, before I finished speaking, he threw out a stack of new bills. This is the deposit. I haven't promised to rent you yet. He blocked the door of the bedroom, looked at me condescendingly, more than a head above me, and said in an arrogant tone, from now on, don't talk nonsense to me. You forgot. Not long ago, you robbed 20 yuan from my car unreasonably. That's just. I can sue you for robbery. I didn't. If I were you, I would quickly turn off the light. This young master is going to sleep. But, he picked up a pile of dirty clothes I threw on the ground, and before I could react, he threw them all on me, and one of the pink underwear hung on my head funny. Seeing me like this, he couldn't help but smile, and he must be thinking in his heart that he would have to play tricks on me in the future. But he was too sleepy today, so he had to refresh himself before cleaning me up. He stretched out his big hand and rubbed my messy hair. Hurry up and go to bed. Stupid woman. Don't snore. Fart. Talk in your sleep. Anne. He suddenly came in front of me, his face almost touching my face. Remember, in the future, you are not allowed to open the door to strangers except me. After saying that, he turned around and slammed the bedroom door. I stood outside the door, so angry that I wanted to kill him. The next morning, as soon as Guan Shichin opened his eyes, he was so dazzled by the dazzling light that he couldn't open his eyes. He looked around. It was all my dolls and little cloth bears. He must be scolding in his heart. What the hell? He is a big man, actually sleeping in such a childish room. He sat up, rubbed his hair, and the incident of breaking into my house in the middle of the night last night came out of his mind little by little. Looking at the childish furnishings in front of him, as well as my pink Garfield blanket on his body, he himself felt that last night's behavior was too childish, and he couldn't help but laugh. He got up to go to the bathroom to clean up, and as soon as he walked out of the bedroom, he saw a scene that made him laugh. I was sleeping soundly on the sofa in the living room in cartoon pajamas, and my underwear was still hanging on my feet. He slowly walked up to me, bent down to see. I was sleeping too embarrassed. My face was still stained with a few sesame seeds, and on the table in front of the sofa, there was a sesame cake that I had bitten half of. He looked at me carefully, and then realized that my eyebrows were as thin as crescent moons, and my eyelashes were particularly long, like the dolls in my room, dense and upright. The nose is small, and the mouth is also very cute, slightly open, and red, which makes people want to kiss it. It turns out that I am not ugly, but I don't like to dress up, and my sloppy appearance covers my beauty. Guan Shichin has grown so big. The first time he has looked at a girl so seriously, it turns out that she is naturally beautiful and so clean without makeup. His heart suddenly became chaotic, a burst of restlessness. God, what's wrong with him? Isn't I just an ordinary girl? How can he be tempted by me with so many beauties around him? He hurriedly wanted to hide the strange feeling in his heart, and just as he was about to turn around, I opened my eyes in a daze and shouted lazily, "Little brother, I'm so sleepy. Go pour me a cup of tea. I rubbed the saliva at the corner of my mouth, woke up a little, and looked up. It was actually Guan Shichin who gave me nightmares last night. I was so frightened that I sat up and stepped back again and again. You, why are you? Oh yes, you little white face. You broke into my house in the middle of the night yesterday and kicked me out of the bedroom. You. I pointed at him tremblingly, biting the bullet and pretending to be powerful. Let me tell you, I am a 7th Dan black belt in karate. You know each other and hurry up with your luggage. Otherwise, I'm not polite to you. His strange mood just now was completely stirred up by my little white face. And when he thought that I regarded him as a cowherd, he was furious. He stretched out his hand and knocked off my posture, and said disdainfully, Miss, you are in the wrong posture. You are really stupid. I was knocked off by him and frowned and glared at him. What the hell do you want to do? Let me tell you. I took you in last night because I borrowed 20 yuan from you before. My little brother said that you must repay your kindness. I will lend you money and let you stay for one night. We are clear. You are not allowed to stay in my house tonight. I was so anxious that if my little brother knew that there was a man in my family who sold his color, he would definitely scold me to death. Guan Shichin smiled evilly and said, Your little brother didn't tell you that if you did something wrong, will you be responsible to the end? I frowned, looking confused. What did I do wrong? What are you talking about? He pointed to his nose and said confidently, First, you made me show my appearance in front of so many people. Second, because you made trouble. The rich women who took care of me dumped me. Third, you have left me homeless. Fang Ruoxue, shouldn't you be responsible? Since I thought he was a cowherd, he simply pretended to be to the end and teased me that I asked in a low voice. Did I really make you homeless? He nodded vigorously. Isn't it? If you hadn't spoken ill of me in front of my rich women, they wouldn't have kicked me out. And you must bear this responsibility. I was in a hurry to defend. But the restaurant proprietress, she heard that there were other women outside me, so she kicked me out. He must be thinking in his heart. The restaurant proprietress is obviously his mother. I asked again, and that beauty in red, if it weren't for you, would I break up with her? He complained in his heart. A woman like Susan Shan. He was annoyed to look at it one more time. And yesterday's, you also saw it, because you were nosy. And my third rich woman also dumped me. The more he spoke, the more energetic he became, and his mind became stronger and stronger. Fang Ruoxue, think about it. Who caused me to become like this? I scratched my hair, and when I heard him say this, I really felt a little guilty. Although I don't agree with the profession of cowherd, maybe he has some unspeakable secrets, and he is also forced to be helpless. Because of my intervention, he was abandoned, which is quite pitiful to think about. I was about to say something more when he interrupted. Didn't your little brother tell you that you must be worthy of the conscience of heaven and earth? I nodded dumbly. He didn't tell you that daring to be a man is a man. I looked at him with big eyes, and I really didn't know what he was trying to say. Therefore, Fang Ruoxue, I am like this today. You are all harmed, and you must be responsible for me to the end. From today onwards, I will live here. You have to cook me 3 meals a day, clean my room, be my free maid. You know, you. I was about to resist. The living room door was suddenly opened. My little brother Fang Jihan walked in with a dark coffee-colored suitcase, and shouted, Sister. Before he finished speaking, he saw that I was arguing with a tall handsome guy, and after seeing who the other party was, he was startled, and he must be thinking in his heart, how could this person be here? Guan Shichin greeted my little brother ruffianly. I guess you are this woman's brother. Right. My name is Guan Shichin. I am very happy to meet you siblings, and I will say that from today onwards, I will not live here. After saying that, he turned to me again. You siblings talk. I'll go take a shower, and when I come out, make breakfast. After saying that, he walked to the bathroom in style. I hurried to my little brother, so anxious. Little brother, look, it's him. He broke into my house in the middle of the night yesterday and insisted on renting my house. You hurry up and call the police and sue him for trespassing on a private house. My little brother frowned and said doubtfully, Sister, slow down. What's going on? I gestured excitedly, talked for a long time, and finally made things clear. And my little brother suddenly realized. He smiled bitterly and shook his head. He must be thinking in his heart, thinking with his feet. Guan Shichin was deliberately harassing me, but since he retaliated against me in such a childish way, it means that I am very special in his heart, and maybe there will be development in the future. He nodded, feeling that he was right, and patted me on the shoulder. Sister, I am going to lead a group to Europe this time, at least a month, since he rented your house. You can stay here and take good care of his daily life and diet. What? You actually agreed to let him live here, and let me take care of him. My little brother picked up the banknotes on the table, counted them, and nodded with satisfaction. People have paid the deposit. What are you afraid of? But, he pressed my shoulder and said with a smile, I changed my mind. Don't move to me. Clean up the utility room. You live in my house. You can rent it out again. But, that's it, sister. Go make breakfast. I'm hungry. As he spoke, he pushed me into the kitchen, then turned around and walked to the bathroom. Not long after, Guan Shichin came out of the bathroom wiping his wet hair, and when he saw that my little brother was still there, he was stunned for a moment. Why are you still here? My little brother shrugged. This is my sister's house. Why can't I be there? Also, I have something to say to you. Guan Shichin stopped and looked back at him. What? No matter why you live here, I warn you not to hurt my sister. Otherwise, I won't let you go, my little brother said heavily. Guan Shichin shrugged. Okay, let's take a look. For a while, the atmosphere between the two men became tense. Although I was reluctant, I still listened to my younger brother's words. Kept Guan Shichin, cleaned up the utility room, and obediently made him a hearty breakfast. I wondered in my heart, how could my little brother agree to this little white face to live in and let me take care of him? And he also put all the deposit Guan Shichin gave me in his pocket, so he left half of it for me. I really don't understand. Not long after eating, Guan Shichin drove his super conspicuous sports car to his friend Lu Erbase's Lu Group. Lu Erbase's office is large and luxurious, with modern equipment available, and it looks very status at first glance. He and Guan Shichin grew up together. They are both the pride of the sky. Guan Shichin is unwilling to rely on his parents, and opened his own Guan security company after graduating from college. And now the company is on the right track, and he can be at ease without worrying about it. It was his mother who went too far and always urged him to get married, so that he could only run away from home now. And the dignified young master of the Guan family actually ended up homeless. In the office, Lu Erbai crossed Erlang's legs, playing with a pure gold pen in his hand, looked at Guan Shichin, and looked sympathetic. Our beautiful Ms. Lin, did you really kick you out of the house? Guan Shichin drank the black tea brewed by his secretary and glared at him. How many times have I told you? It's not my mother who drove me away. It's me who ran away from home by myself. Do you hear me clearly? Lu Erbai smiled and joked. It's really pitiful. You are so rich, beautiful and physical. You were forced to run away from home by your own mother. Shichin, I said before that you are a poor worm. Guan Shichin rolled his eyes and countered. It's not just me who has been urged to get married. I heard that your mother hasn't been idle lately. Lu Erbai was not angry at all, and said slowly, no matter how much my mother urges me, I will not compromise. Unlike you, I will only run away from home to escape. Guan Shichin said impatiently, don't talk nonsense. You called me here. What's the matter? If it's not important, see how I clean you up. Lu Er changed his vernacular and joked. I forgot to ask you, where do you live when you run away from home? Guan Shichin raised his eyebrows and smiled smirkly. Fang Ruoxu's family. Fang Ruoxue. Who is it? Lu Erbai looked puzzled. Guan Shichin said angrily. It's the stupid woman who treats me as a midnight cowherd. Lu Erbai looked fussy. You live in that woman's house. What if not? Guan Shichin shrugged. She said that I am a cowherd, and I am sorry for giving me the title of peace if I don't eat her, live her, or use her. He thought of me, angry and laughing in his heart, although I was sloppy and reckless. But every time he thought of me, he would have a strange feeling in his heart, and he couldn't tell what it was. Lu Erbai leaned over and said with a smirk, Shichin, are you tempted by that woman named Fang Ruoxue? Right. Less nonsense. Guan Shichin glared at him. How could I fall in love with that kind of woman? Is your brain in water? Having said that, he couldn't help but see my little face without makeup in front of his eyes, and he was even more puzzled. Lu Erbai smiled and said, it seems that I misunderstood. I thought that silly girl was very special in your heart. Silly girl. Guan Shichin was not happy anymore. People have names and surnames. Called Fang Ruoxue. Don't give people nicknames casually. Look, I said I wasn't tempted, so I called a silly girl, and you were in a hurry. Lu Erbai, maybe in the future, that Miss Fang will be able to become my sister-in-law's wife. Are you sick in your brain? It's hard to say. The water tower gets the moon first. You live in someone else's house. Maybe one day you will be tempted. I live in her house. I just want to play with her. Saying that, Guan Shichin took out his mobile phone and quickly dialed my phone. Find Fang Ruoxue. Who am I? I am your tenant Guan Shichin yesterday. Yes, it's that little white face. Nonsense. There must be something to look for you. At 8 o'clock tonight, Times Square is waiting for me. I have something important to tell you. That's it. Hang up. Before I could speak, he hung up the phone, turned off the phone, and said to Lu Erbai, look, this is my first step to play with her. Lu Erbai looked at his arrogant appearance and couldn't help but laugh. You shouldn't. Do you want to date someone tonight? Guan Shichin said arrogantly. Are you jealous? Forget it. I don't dare. Lu Er spread his hands. But I'm curious. What do you want to do? What else can you do? Let that stupid woman taste the taste of being teased. And she should also pay the price for her stupidity. Guan Shichin stood up, with an evil smile on his face. When Guan Shichin and Lu Erbai came out of the bar, it was almost 10 o'clock. Lu Erbai drove his Porsche first. Guan Shichin got into his sports car, looked at the ketchup on his shirt, and looked disgusted. The waiter definitely didn't know that his Versace shirt, which cost 8,000 yuan, actually poured a large plate of ketchup on it. He wiped it with a tissue, and the stain was still visible. He complained in his heart that he was really unlucky recently, and unsatisfactory things happened one after another. He slowly drove out of the parking lot. The neon lights on the street were already on. The city was particularly beautiful at night. The high-rise buildings were brightly lit. Even if it was almost 10 o'clock, it was still very lively. He held the steering wheel with one hand and the window with the other. looking at the street scene passing by the window. Several clothing stores were closing, and several college students came out of the night school in twos and threes. Just when he was bored looking at the scenery, he suddenly saw a familiar figure not far away, on the Times Square bench. A girl wearing a blue collarless t-shirt, holding her bag, looking around nervously, and looking at the cheap electronic watch on her wrist from time to time. Isn't that me? Guan Shichin hurriedly slowed down and wondered in his heart. How could I be here so late? Suddenly, there was a buzz in his head, and he remembered what he had said on the phone in the morning at 8 o'clock in the evening. Times Square was gone. His heart tightened. Could this silly girl really be waiting? He slowly drove the car to me, jumped out of the car, and walked quickly to the bench. I was looking around, and when I saw him, the anxiety on my face suddenly dissipated, and I shouted excitedly, "Guan Shichin." My voice trembled a little, so I stood up and rushed over, looking him up and down. "Are you okay?" Ever since I received his call in the morning, I have been curious about what important thing he told me. Come to Times Square at 7:30 to wait for him. But as time passed, I became more and more anxious, and my mind was full of bad thoughts. For fear that he would be beaten by the rich woman's bodyguards, or get into a car accident, or offend the underworld. Although he is very arrogant, we live under the same roof after all, and he has become like this, which is indeed related to me, and the more I wait, the more worried I become. Guan Shichin was grabbed by my arm, but I didn't expect that my first sentence was to ask him if he was okay. In his impression, if he released a woman's pigeon, he would either be scolded or lose money. But looking at my face full of worry, he suddenly felt a sense of guilt in his heart. God, he would actually feel guilty. Just when he was in a daze, I suddenly screamed, "Blood! Oh my God, it's blood!" I pointed to the ketchup on his shirt, grabbed his arm in a hurry, and looked around for a rental car. Taxi, stop. Guan Shichin was caught by me, and said helplessly, "Why are you looking for a rental car? You're bleeding. Let's hurry to the hospital." I was so anxious that I was about to cry, and I kept shouting, "Driver, please stop. Fang Ruoshue. Taxi, Fang Ruoshue." Seeing that my tears were flowing down, Guan Shichin quickly took me into his arms and quickly said, "I'm fine. It's okay. It's not blood. It's ketchup." Seeing me crying, he felt uncomfortable in his heart. What the hell is going on with me? This girl, she didn't find out. Did I let her pigeon go? Just a few drops of ketchup actually made her so nervous. If it were another woman, she wouldn't really care about him like this. His heart suddenly warmed. His throat seemed to be blocked by something, an indescribable feeling. How could I be so kind? Ketchup. I stopped my tears, touched his shirt tremblingly, leaned over to sniff it, and breathed a sigh of relief. Really? What a ketchup. I raised my head awkwardly and blushed. Yes, I'm sorry. I was too anxious just now, and I thought I looked stupid. In Guan Zaikin's eyes, it was actually very cute. There were tears in her big eyes. Her little face was red. Her eyes were clean and innocent, and there was no sophistication and hypocrisy, which made people feel distressed. He stretched out his hand, pinched my chin domineeringly, and asked, "It's so late. Why are you still waiting for me here?" Growing up so big, it was the first time he felt guilty about a woman, or a woman he threatened to tease a few hours ago. I looked puzzled. "You called in the morning and said, at 8 o'clock in the evening, let me come to Times Square and tell me something important. You mean you waited from 8 o'clock until now?" Guan Zaikin's heart was shocked. I lowered my head and whispered, "Actually, I came at 7:30. Fool." He hugged me tightly into his arms, his tone full of helplessness and distress. "You are such a fool." My shoulders were small and soft, and it was very comfortable to hold in my arms, and he didn't want to let go. I was held in his arms and was stunned. God, this little white face. How dare you hug me so blatantly? His arms were so strong and his body smelled so charming. My heart was beating fast, and my mind was in chaos. Just when I was at a loss, he suddenly lowered his head, kissed me quickly with his warm lips. God, this little white face. He actually kissed me. I stood in the bathroom blankly, holding a water glass in my left hand and a toothbrush in my right hand. And I didn't fall asleep all night. Oh my God, I was actually kissed by that little white face. And what's even more outrageous is that I still missed that kiss. I sighed while brushing my teeth. How could I never forget a little white face that was supported by others? Bang! The bathroom door was suddenly knocked open. I was startled, and when I looked up, Guan Shichin actually walked in shirtless and swaggered. Looking at myself again, I was only wearing a camisole and underwear. Quickly covered my chest with my hands, thought about it, and quickly covered my lower body, in a hurry, which made Guan Shichin laugh. Ruoshue. He looked me up and down, smiled and said, "Don't worry, I won't take advantage of others." You. Poof. I quickly spat out the toothpaste in my mouth and said angrily, "Hey, why did you come in without knocking on the door? With one more man in the family, I can't live a normal life." I knocked, but you didn't hear it. You hurry up and get dressed." I looked at his strong upper body eagerly, and secretly swallowed. This man is in great shape. Just like Mr. Bodybuilding. Guan Shichin smiled ambiguously. "Do you think it's unfair? If you mind, you can also skip clothes." "I don't wear clothes, you little white face." "What nonsense are you talking about?" I quickly grabbed a large white bath towel and wrapped it around myself. "I warn you, If you want to live here, you have to abide by the rules. First, you are not allowed to run around naked at home. Second, you must knock on the door in the bathroom to make sure no one can enter. The third, I was still chattering, and I saw Guan Shichin walking towards me with a smile. And I hurriedly stepped back, but he suddenly stretched out his hand and pinched my chin domineeringly. Honey, you don't have to follow so many rules with your lover. Right, lover. I was stunned all of a sudden. Who is your lover? Who did you call my dear just now? Of course it's you. Guan Shichin hugged me tightly in his arms and said arrogantly, you have a little white face. Then I will be your little white face. And if you are dumped by so many rich women, I will rely on you. Fang Ruoshue. From today onwards, I will be your lover. And you will take care of me. How about it? I'll take care of you. I was so scared that I almost fell. I have been honest since I was a child. My parents have always taught me to be a good person. I have never done anything deviant. In their eyes, I am a timid and good baby. But now, this super handsome man actually asked me to take care of him. Foster care. How scary. That's right. He smirked and said, from today onwards, you are my exclusive master of Guan Shichin. You can only smile at me. You can only cook 3 meals for me. You can only listen to me. You can only be good to me. And your mouth, only I can kiss. You know. I stared at him with wide eyes and asked in a low voice, Guan Shichin, did you see a flying saucer last night? Flying saucer. He frowned, looking puzzled. Yes. I heard that people who are mentally abnormal are all because they see strange things, such as ghosts, monsters, flying saucers, etc. I counted my fingers seriously. Fang Ruoshue. He knocked me on the head angrily. You see clearly. Normal. He must be complaining in his heart. Other women were overjoyed when they heard this. Just me actually suspected that he had a mental problem. This girl, really hopeless that I was so aggrieved that I felt aggrieved. No matter how I looked at Guan Shichin, it was not normal, domineering and arrogant. It looked violent. After breakfast I went to work in my own cafe. Before my parents passed away, not only left money for me and my brother, but also left this cafe to us. My brother is a tour guide who runs around all year round, and the work of watching the store naturally falls on me. As a result, as soon as I arrived at the door of the store, Guan Shichin, who had pestered me all morning, actually followed me again. He wore a black shirt and black trousers today, tall and handsome. As soon as I entered the door, I sucked away all the eyes of all the female customers in the store. No wonder those rich ladies are rare for him. Handsome temperament is okay. Just smile can charm a bunch of women. I nervously grabbed his arm and pushed him out, and quickly asked him why he had to follow me. In the morning he opened his mouth and asked me to take care of him. It was enough to respond to me, and now I can't shake it off like a piece of craft candy. I am an ordinary small shopkeeper, not a rich woman at all. How can I afford to raise a top handsome guy like him? Any pair of shoes can make me bankrupt. Okay. Guan Shichin smiled and didn't leave, and said that he was my exclusive lover, serving the hostess 24 hours a day, and I didn't know what kind of wind he smoked. So he loved to quarrel with me and tease me, and when he saw me, he was in a particularly good mood. I instantly blushed and complained wildly. The man who had been a cowherd really had no proportions. This kind of tiger and wolf words actually dared to talk nonsense in public. The regular customers in the store immediately joined in the fun and joked with me, asking me if I was getting rich. How much does it cost to raise such a handsome man a year? I hurriedly waved my hand to explain that it didn't matter to the two of us. As a result, Guan Shichin directly answered the call to offer the price. $90 million a year for outsiders, plus 2 villas and a Ferrari. Heard that the other party was dumbfounded on the spot, turned his head and hugged me ambiguously, saying that if I took care of him, I didn't want to count it all, and I posted a large sum of money every month. I was angry and embarrassed, but my heart was quietly moved because of his eccentric words. The more I thought about it, the more chaotic I became. I really didn't want to pay attention to him. I deliberately rushed to do chores all morning, and deliberately avoided him throughout the process. Guan Shichin looked at my stupid appearance in a hurry. I felt inexplicably distressed. I lived for almost 30 years, and it was the first time I met such a simple and silly girl as me. He simply put on an apron and took the initiative to help. And the blessing of good looks directly blew up the business in the store. I watched a bunch of girls stare at him nymphomaniac, and instantly became jealous, secretly complaining that this man was too ostentatious. And in the morning he was arguing to be my lover, and turned his head to flirt with other women everywhere. Just when I was making coffee with anger, a super eye-catching handsome guy pushed the door in. In contrast, Guan Shichin was publicly handsome. This man is a cold and precious top appearance. A big-name outfit is full of aura, full of rich people's aristocratic temperament. I was stunned on the spot and almost drooled. And Guan Shichin saw the person who came. His face instantly sank. This person was his friend Lu Erbai. Lu Erbai chose a good position by the window, caught a glimpse of Guan Shichin around a funny apron. His face was full of ridicule, calmly opened his mouth and ordered a cup of Blue Mountain coffee. Every move was elegant and charming, which made the hearts of all the girls in the audience move. I was stupid and ready to make coffee. The appearance of the nymphomaniac was all seen by Guan Shichin. so angry that he threw the menu on the spot and put on a stinky face. His attitude was outrageously bad. Luo Bai complained that the service attitude of our store was too poor. I was afraid that the guest would complain and quickly ran out to bow and apologize. And I helped Guan Shichen say good things. Seeing that I was defending outsiders everywhere, Guan Shichen was even more angry, and directly pulled me behind him to protect me. And the yin and yang were weird and replied to Luo Bai, and also pretended to be high-minded, saying that it was his honor to be able to serve him. And Luo Bai held back the bad and deliberately made things difficult. If it weren't for the report of his subordinates who ran into Guan Shichen running to the small cafe to do chores, he wouldn't have discovered the secret. And he was even more curious about what the origin of me who could hold Guan Shichen was coming to the house. And he had to admit that I was clean and gentle, completely different from the women Guan Shichen had contacted before. Guan Shichen couldn't bear it and punched him directly, angrily scolding the other party for not cleaning up. Luo Bai immediately pretended to be pitiful and shouted that he was beaten, clamoring to complain to the boss for compensation. I was so frightened that I panicked, and hurriedly stated that I was the store manager. And I complained madly in my heart that Guan Shichen was causing trouble for himself. Luo Bai became more and more excessive, and he wanted to sue and lose money. I apologized softly, took the initiative to lose money, and promised to drink coffee for free for a month. It was all useless. And he was questioned by him that he would drug the drink, and he was forced to be speechless, so he could only reason with him honestly. But the other party did not enter the oil and salt, and also made excessive demands, forcing Guan Shichen to kneel down and apologize. Just when Guan Shichen was about to turn his face, I rushed forward directly to protect him behind me, and replied to Luo Bai stubbornly, not allowing him to rely on money to bully people. Although we have no money but have backbone, we do not welcome such arrogant guests. The big deal is that he will complain casually, and will never bow his head to compromise. This stupid and domineering operation directly made Luo Bai and Guan Shichen both laugh. Luo Bai laughed so hard that he couldn't straighten his waist, bluntly said that I was simply a funny genius. Guan Shichen never expected that he would be protected by my little girl, but I was confused, and stupidly asked them if they had known each other for a long time. On the way home from work, I haven't figured it out yet, and I kept asking Guan Shichen, they are obviously good friends. Why do they pit each other when they meet? The mode of getting along is so strange, and I stupidly inquire about Luo Bai's occupation, and even naively think that he and Guan Shichen are both cowherds. Guan Shichen deliberately ridiculed along my words, defaulting to the two being peers. I was shocked on the spot. I couldn't help but feel that the handsome guys love to do this line of work now. He saw through the strange ideas in my head at a glance, and took advantage of the situation to approach and put his arm on my shoulder to tease me. The ambiguous distance made my heart beat wildly. The deer bumped into each other. I kept reminding myself that I just pity him for taking in temporarily. Don't think about it. Reliable is full of security by his side. Or I can't help but miss my deceased parents. And Guan Shichen has already been quietly moved. The moment he hugged me, his heart was full of satisfaction and joy. And then Guan Shichen couldn't help but drag me to the most high-end dream salon in the city. I couldn't understand his operation at all. I had to take me to the high-end styling store to toss. The clerks in the store were all shrewd and snobbish. Seeing the rustic me snuggled in Guan Zichen's arms, all of them were shocked. After all, Guan Shichen has always had a very high vision and never brought an ordinary girl over. As soon as the designer saw my hair, he complained wildly, a lot of dry and yellow split ends, and asked me if I was using cheap miscellaneous shampoo. Guan Shichen sat aside leisurely flipping through magazines, and couldn't stand my rustic outfit for a long time, and insisted on transforming me into a delicate and eye-catching one. I honestly explained that the 59 yuan and a large bucket of affordable shampoo I used were super cost-effective and used for many years. This operation directly left Guan Shichen speechless, and he also used the same style in the morning. No wonder the hair is dry and difficult to take care of after washing. The designer frantically complained that I was an old antique. Guan Shichen also joked that I was from aliens. I didn't understand the joke, and seriously defended himself as an earthling. The designer was defeated by my simplicity, and he insisted on transforming me into a peerless beauty, and I tossed for 5 hours. I slowly walked out of the dressing room with a new look. Exquisite hairstyle with gentle makeup, a long white skirt lined up with a slender and good-looking figure, pure temperament and a little charming, and the proper jade counterattack changed greatly. Guan Shichen was stunned on the spot, couldn't control his heart and rushed up to drag me into his arms and kiss me directly. The designer immediately rushed up to stop it, for fear that the perfect shape he had carefully created would be destroyed, and he was dissatisfied with Guan Shichen calling my nickname. Guan Shichen, who was full of possessiveness, was jealous and warned on the spot, and the designer quickly changed his words to avoid suspicion. At this moment everyone could see that the playboy Guan Shichen was sincere to me. His eyes were full of super possessiveness. Guan Shichen hugged me and turned around and left, regretting and entangled in his heart, regretting dressing me up so brightly. It attracted the covetousness of others. I can't wait to hide me directly, never let anyone see it again. I would rather I have always been that simple and rustic little girl. When I walked to the door, I remembered that I didn't take my old clothes and shoes. I felt sorry for thousands of yuan and was reluctant to throw it away, urging him to go back to pick it up. The designer looked disgusted and complained that it was all garbage. These words instantly angered me. I argued on the spot. Every piece of clothing was bought by my hard work. Diligence and thrift are not shameful. It is not garbage at all. A hardcore rebuttal left the designer speechless. In the end, I could only obediently pack it up and return it to me. Just went out and bumped into Kwon Zaikan's mother. The other party had a spicy aura and a bad temper. And as soon as we met, I grabbed his ear to teach him a lesson, misunderstanding that I was his new girlfriend. Thinking that I was a fox spirit who was greedy for wealth, and resolutely disagreed with the two of us being together. I hurriedly explained that the whole process drew a clear line, repeatedly emphasizing that I had never taken care of Kwon Shichin, and kindly persuaded this lady, don't be addicted to taking care of men, and it is reliable to fall in love and start a family. And the outrageous misunderstanding is getting bigger and bigger. Kwon Shichin was afraid that his identity would be exposed, so he hurriedly rounded up the situation. Randomly fabricated the rhetoric of breaking up and offsetting the account, pulled me to run away from the scene, leaving his mother confused and puzzled. Late at night I locked the door of the cafe and was about to go home. Two tattooed gangsters suddenly appeared behind me, stopped me in a fierce tone, opened his mouth and called my name. I was so frightened that I panicked, and forced me to pretend to be polite to say that the store was closed, and suddenly saw the hideous wolf head tattoo on the arms of the two, and instantly remembered my brother's advice. At first glance, it was a street gangster who was not easy to mess with, and just wanted to slip away quickly. The gangster pushed me away arrogantly, insisting on forcibly taking me away. I was in a hurry and deliberately lied that there was a ghost behind me, taking advantage of the gap between the two of them, turning their heads to check, desperately pulling out my legs and running for my life. The gangster reacted and became angry, followed all the way to chase after him. On the other side, Kwon Shichin waited at home for me to be missing. The more I waited, the more panicked I became. I couldn't feel at ease at all. My mouth was perfunctory to deal with my mother's urging and questioning. My heart was full of my safety. Looking out the window, just ran into the thrilling scene of me being chased by the bad guys. My face changed dramatically in an instant, and I ran out to find someone without saying a word. I desperately ran away while shouting for help. The alley was empty late at night and no one helped. Fortunately, I had a solid foundation in running as a senior, so I could barely avoid being caught up. The gangster threatened me all the way. I was terrified, full of regret that I didn't learn self-defense. I could only run desperately in the direction of the police station, and I crashed into my strong chest in a panic. And when I looked up, I saw Kwon Shichin, instantly surprised and happy, and hurriedly pulled him to run away. Kwon Shichin protected me in his arms with a calm face, and didn't take the two gangsters in his eyes at all. You must know that he is a big man who is in awe of both black and white. And he has many industries under his hands. How can he be afraid of this kind of little minion? After the gangster caught up and made up excuses, lying that it was a family dispute and wanted to take me away by force, I hurriedly panicked to defend, for fear that Kwon Shichin would be deceived. The gangster heard Kwon Zaikan's name and was instantly afraid of guilt, and did not dare to do it easily. Kwon Zaikan's eyes were full of cold aura, and the domineering official announced that I was his person, and asked the other party where the courage came from to provoke himself. I was still stupid to correct the title, and I couldn't tell what the difference was between the hostess and his woman. The stupid operation made Kwon Shichin so angry that he was helpless, and the next second I saw that there were many people on the other side, and immediately stood up and stood in front of him, telling him to leave first, staying and carrying things by himself. And the brainless act of protecting people directly made Kwon Shichin angry and drank coldly on the spot to stop it. That I was so frightened by him on the spot that I quickly closed my mouth, staring at him with an aggrieved face. I was obviously worried that he would be beaten and protect him kindly. Why did he yell at me so fiercely? Although he saw me protecting him, Kwon Shichin had already been moved in his heart, but he still glanced at me angrily, and then his eyes were instantly cold and scary, and he looked straight at the two yellow-haired long-haired gangsters on the opposite side. He walked forward slowly with the same steps as the catwalk model, and said in a tone that he couldn't do it if he wanted to do it. He hurriedly said, "Don't delay my time." Huang Mao and Chang Mao were instantly suppressed by the powerful aura on his body. Both of them were stunned. Subconsciously retreated back again and again. Chang Mao swallowed his saliva, and carefully asked, "Are you Kwon Shichin?" "That's right, I am Kwon Shichin." He saw that the two of them had fierce wolf heads tattooed on their arms. His heart sank suddenly, his good-looking eyes narrowed slightly, and he asked in a cold voice, "Are you from the serious gang? How is your boss Li Ruhai now?" I just reacted. These two are not ordinary gangsters at all. They are people in a serious gang. No wonder they are not small. How could they come to trouble me? As soon as these words were asked, the two gangsters trembled instantly. Huang Mao was so frightened that his teeth trembled, and he stammered and asked, Are you the famous Kwon Shichin?" Kwon Shichin was tall and approached them step by step, exuding a piercing murderous aura, and asked in a cold tone, "Could it be that there is a second Kwon Shichin in the world?" As soon as the words fell, Huang Mao raised his hand and slapped himself hard, sweating profusely and apologizing. "We were wrong. We didn't know that I was your person at all. No one on the road didn't know Kwon Zaikan's horror. Provoking him was basically a dead end. Chang Mao was even more frightened to the point where his legs were weak, bending over to apologize and admit his mistakes, and never dared to mess around again. Guan Shichin turned his head and glanced at me, who was looking at him nervously, and snorted coldly. Since I know I was wrong, I won't care about you today, and I will talk to your boss in person when I come back. Hurry up and get out. The two of them immediately panicked after hearing this, and after driving away the two gangsters, Guan Shichin restrained his hostility and turned around and walked towards me. I stared at him dumbfoundedly, stupidly spoke. They actually ran away directly. That's not it. He stretched out his hand and hugged my shoulder, took me home, nestled in his arms. I turned my head to look in the direction where the gangsters left, crackling and asking, why did they run away without saying a word? Why are they scared to death when they hear your name? It's too strange. It's too strange. I have lived here for so long. The security has been good. Suddenly this kind of bad guy appeared. I have to remind the neighbors. Be careful when you get off work at night. Looking at my simple appearance that doesn't understand anything, Guan Zikin's brows furrowed tightly, secretly pondering in his heart. The people of the serious gang are looking for trouble with me for no reason. There is definitely a trick hidden in it. No matter what, he will never put me in danger again. It's time to take action to deal with these things. Go upstairs and open the door of the house. I am still complaining about his nonsense. Just halfway through, the mouth was suddenly blocked by the hot lips. Guan Shichin raised his foot and closed the door with his backhand. Too lazy to talk nonsense to me, he could only block my chattering little mouth with a kiss. I instantly widened a pair of big watery eyes. The whole person froze in place and didn't dare to move. My heart was panicked. Why did he kiss me again? I was obviously super greedy for his kisses, in case I was completely addicted. What should I do when he found a new sponsor and left me to find another woman? When I thought that he would hug and kiss others in the future, my heart was blocked. A big stone was overwhelmed, and a crazy idea suddenly popped up in my heart. I really wanted to monopolize Guan Shichin and let him be alone with me forever. But as soon as the thought came out, I immediately blamed myself and scolded myself. How could I have such a selfish and evil mind? Guan Shichin slowly let go of my lips and complained in a low voice that I was too stupid. It wasn't the first time I kissed, and I didn't know how to close my eyes. His voice was hoarse and gentle, coaxing me, and he closed his eyes obediently. I really couldn't stand the way you stared at me with your eyes open, like I was bullying you. I blinked my eyes, obediently closed my eyes. Even if I was reluctant to miss his handsome appearance, I could only obediently obey. The next second he leaned over and kissed me fiercely again. What internet celebrity supermodels, beautiful ambiguous objects, all were thrown out of the sky by him. He has identified me in this life. I am so simple and easy to deceive. If I don't have him to protect me, sooner or later I will be bullied to death. I don't even know what happened. The morning sun shines into the room through the pink curtains. Guan Shichin opened his eyes, turned over and stretched out his long arms to hug me firmly beside me. The comfortable embrace made me hum softly. The pink little face rubbed against his naked chest, turned his head and fell asleep again. He never tried to wake up with a woman in his arms, and it was the first time he was reluctant to leave the person around him. If it was a month ago, he didn't believe that he would have such a strong possessiveness and protectiveness towards a stupid me. Until now he can't figure it out. I am stupid about where to attract him so much. He gently rubs my pink face with his fingertips. I never wear makeup. My skin is white and tender and delicate, better than many well-dressed women. The more I looked at it, the more I couldn't take my eyes off. I was gently touched by him. I frowned uncomfortably, sleeping, causing him to can't help but laugh out loud. I didn't expect that I was so cute and funny when I fell asleep. My long eyelashes trembled slightly. I opened my eyes suddenly, and at first glance I saw a strong and naked chest. Slowly looked up, and met that handsome face. I instantly gasped. My heart beat wildly. God, how could a man be so good-looking, even if he just woke up? The eyebrows and eyes are lazy and a little evil. Seeing my face instantly hot and blushing. You woke up. Guan Shichin raised his eyebrows slightly and looked at me. Two simple words directly made my heart beat a beat. The action of raising my eyebrows was so handsome that I almost drooled. My heart was full of his appearance, but the next second I realized that I was actually lying on the same bed, and I was not wearing any clothes. My head instantly buzzed and exploded. The whole face was as red paper. I was so frightened that I closed my eyes and screamed. Why are you in my room? I can't remember what happened last night at all. I only vaguely remember that he kissed me, and I don't remember what happened after that. Guan Shichin laughed out loud, deliberately leaning into my ear to ridicule badly. Have you forgotten? I am the person you spend money to raise. Serving you is supposed to be. I was so ashamed that I quickly buried my head in the pillow, covered my head with a quilt. The whole person was so ashamed that I was embarrassed. Guan Shichin gently patted my head covered by the quilt, comforted softly. Don't be stuffy in it. It will be suffocated. The quilt was quiet. Only my shoulders kept shaking slightly. Guan Shichin immediately noticed that something was wrong. I usually love to nag and talk back Today is particularly quiet, abnormal to be outrageous. He pulled the quilt away hard, broke my little face buried in the pillow. The moment I saw my face full of tears, the whole person was instantly stunned, hurriedly hugged me into his arms and comforted me softly. His eyes were full of distress. He had never had this kind of heart-wrenching feeling for any woman. His heart was tightly pulled together, strange and uncomfortable, but he didn't reject it at all. I lay in his arms and cried aggrievedly. The tears couldn't stop falling. My heart panicked and collapsed. It's over. I actually had a relationship with Guan Shichin. Don't cry. Crying again is even uglier. Guan Shichin coaxed me helplessly. I couldn't cry or laugh in my heart. He has dated countless women. Or is it the first time I met him and cried when he woke up? Could it be that his charm is worthless to me? I looked up at him with tearful eyes. My mouth was deflated, and I cried even more fiercely. Guan Shichin completely panicked. There were a lot of ways to coax women, but I had no way to cry at all. And finally I could only call my name sharply with a straight face. The huge voice frightened me to burp suddenly. Tears instantly held back, staring blankly at him with a flowery little face, sobbing twice from time to time, and I was still afraid in my heart. Seeing that I finally stopped crying, he immediately softened his tone, asked patiently, and obediently told me, "What the hell are you crying?" I sobbed and shed tears, and said aggrievedly, I've become a bad woman. Bad woman. Guan Zaikin's face was full of doubts and confusion. I saw that you were abandoned and homeless. So I took you in. I never thought of taking care of you, let alone let you do those things. But now, I'm actually like this with you. I choked up and couldn't speak, bowed my head and blamed myself. I'm no different from those bad women who spend money to support you. I'm sorry for you. It's okay if you scold me and beat me and dislike me. Just kissing I feel excessive. Now this kind of thing happens. I'm really too bad. Guan Shichin was dumbfounded on the spot. I never expected that I would cry for so long because of this outrageous reason. Secretly complaining helplessly. Obviously I suffered, but it made me full of guilt. I cried and kept thinking wildly, blaming myself for becoming bad. I'm sorry for my deceased parents. I'm sorry for my younger brother. And I feel sorry for Guan Shichin for being unkind. And keep telling him to keep his eyes open and stay away from bad women in the future. Guan Shichin quietly listened to my broken thoughts. The warm current in his heart surged. Even if he was possessed by himself, I was still thinking about him everywhere, and instantly made up my mind. I had to do it in this life. He hugged me gently. His chin was pressed against the top of my head, smelled the faint fragrance of my hair, and held back a smile and spoke seriously. Let's officially date. I don't do that kind of work anymore. And I don't need you to raise it, just like ordinary couples are together well. Okay. I instantly stopped my tears. My red and swollen eyes were full of dazedness. I didn't understand his words at all. He patiently repeated it again, explaining that it is normal for couples to do this kind of thing, so that I don't have to have a psychological burden and guilt anymore. I am ignorant or worried. You don't have a serious job. If my brother knows that I am in love with you, he will definitely be furious. My brother has a super fierce temper. I don't dare to provoke him at all. Don't worry about your brother. I have the final say. Don't refute. Guan Shichin was domineering and strongly finalized. I immediately bowed my head aggrieved. In comparison, or Guan Shichin was more fierce. I could only be obedient. Looking at my aggrieved little appearance, he couldn't help but deliberately tease me. If I went to find a serious job and make money in a down-to-earth manner, wouldn't your brother be angry? My eyes lit up instantly, looking at him with anticipation. Are you really willing to go to work hard and find a serious job? He pretended to be serious and nodded. Of course, I will make a good profit, and I will support you in the future. I immediately and hurriedly refused. You just save money to live a good life. You don't have to support me. I can make money to support myself. Seeing that I am so sensible and considerate, Guan Shichin was full of emotion, gently rubbed my hair. Let me go to the bath first to clean up my crying face. I blushed and obediently agreed, took my clothes and rushed into the bathroom to hide. And soon there was a sound of water in the bathroom. Guan Shichin took out his mobile phone and dialed his subordinates. His face was instantly gloomy and cold, and he ordered his subordinates in a cold voice. On the other hand, I was busy working in the cafe, skillfully making 2 sandwiches and fragrant coffee, loading the tray and shouting loudly to Xiaomei to pick up the food and send the 5th table. The store was full of customers. The business was hot. I was happy to make money while worrying. The two of them couldn't be busy at all. Xiaomei was still clamoring for a salary increase every day. In the morning, Guan Shichin said that there was no one to go out to find a job. If he was in the store, he could still help. As soon as I thought of the intimate picture between the two of us last night, I was hot all over my body. My cheeks were red. I was so shy that I couldn't do it. The wind chimes at the door suddenly rang. I immediately put on a business smile to greet the guests warmly, and as a result, I saw Shin Qianshan holding red roses at the door. The smile on his face disappeared instantly, and he immediately rushed up to stop him, put his hands on his hips and stretched out his hand to ask for money, and quickly returned the 500 yuan owed to me. He also forcibly stuffed roses into my hands, looked at me ambiguously, fooled me with rhetoric, and asked me to go to his house tomorrow to get money. and stretched out his hand to hug my shoulder. Just when his hand was about to touch me, Guan Shichin suddenly appeared, grabbed his wrist, and threw the person to the ground. All the guests were instantly shocked by this scene. They all stopped to watch the excitement. Seeing Guan Shichin come back, my eyes lit up instantly, full of joy. He was wearing a black suit today, wearing sunglasses. The aura is strong and handsome, and the boss has a sense of sight. I quickly shook my head, secretly thinking to myself, he was obviously just an ordinary part-time worker. I must have seen it wrong. Guan Shichin hugged me into his arms, casually threw the roses on Shen Qianshan. The tone was extremely cold. You are limited to get out of here immediately, and dare to harass me again in the future. Don't blame me for being rude to you. Shen Qianshan got up in embarrassment, arrogant and ruthless, and asked Guan Shichin what the origin was. I immediately opened my arms to block Guan Shichin, full of calf protection, for fear that Shen Qianshan would beat people. After all, he used to be the president of karate. I was super worried that Guan Shichin was injured. Shen Qianshan saw this and immediately accused me of sour words, saying that I betrayed him and had a bad character. So angry that I wanted to refute it on the spot. But Guan Shichin kissed me gently on the cheek, softly asked me to make a ham omelette for him to eat, and gently told me to be careful. I was not at ease after telling him. I could only obediently get into the kitchen to be busy. Shen Qianshan was still shouting and provoking. As a result, Guan Shichin made a casual move, directly smashed the floor-to-ceiling window and threw it out. The broken glass was scattered all over the ground. Shen Qianshan lay outside and wailed. Guan Shichin calmly clapped his hands, politely comforted the guests in the store. He was all-inclusive in the whole consumption, and then walked out of the cafe, planning to teach Shen Qianshan a good lesson. In the alley he grabbed Shen Qianshan fiercely, ready to liquidate everything. The store exploded in an instant. Xiao Mei and a group of female guests were talking around, all envious that I could find such a handsome and powerful boyfriend. I didn't care about the discussion of others at all, staring at the broken window to cry without tears. My mind was full of money to repair the window. My brother will definitely scold me when he comes back. I gritted my teeth and shouted Guan Zaikan's name, rushed out of the cafe to find someone to settle the score. As soon as I saw him, I immediately turned on the complaining mode, crazy scolding that he shouldn't have done it in the store. A window costs at least 10,000 yuan. I have to sell hundreds of cups of expensive coffee to earn back. It's too much of a loss. Guan Shichin looked at my cute appearance for money. I couldn't help but laugh non-stop. The more I talked, the more angry I became, and suddenly remembered that Shen Qianshan hadn't paid back the money, plus the cost of repairing the windows, a total of 18,500 yuan to compensate me. I was so cute that I couldn't help but pull me into his arms, lowered his head and kissed me in public, and after just a few hours of separation, he missed me madly. His heart was full of my every move, secretly calculating in his heart, taking me home to meet my parents as soon as possible, finalizing the marriage early. I hid behind the bar and secretly made coffee, avoiding the jealous gaze of the girls in the store the whole time. When I thought of the last time he kissed me in public, I was so shy that I didn't dare to look up, for fear of being pointed at. And the cafe door was pushed open suddenly. A strange middle-aged woman full of jewelry and wearing expensive jewelry walked in strongly, full of aura, staring at me and questioning, directly asking me by name if it was me. I politely entertained her to sit down and order, but the other party looked disgusted, saying that she was not here to consume, specifically came to me, and claimed to be my eldest aunt. I was confused on the spot. I lived for 24 years. I had never heard of me and my eldest aunt. The other party's attitude was arrogant and unreasonable, forcing me to close the door immediately and follow her. I decisively refused. She immediately turned her face and opened her mouth to insult me and my deceased parents and younger brother. The words were vicious and mean. I got angry on the spot, did not show weakness and replied back, never allowing others to slander my family. Guan Shichin watched the whole process on the side, accidentally found that I was also very powerful, sitting quietly watching the play. The middle-aged woman was angry by me, slapping the table and scolding non-stop. I calmly fried poached eggs, while not in a hurry to reply. Every sentence poked the other party's painful place. The whole process without swear words. She was so angry that she trembled. Guan Shichin couldn't help but laugh out loud. Xiao Mei also took the opportunity to speak, deliberately scaring this arrogant woman with Shen Qianshan's cleanup. I breathed a sigh of relief, complaining that this person inexplicably recognized relatives and scolded people casually. I had never heard of my father having brothers and sisters, and after finishing the work at hand, Guan Shichin slowly got up, walked to the bar and stretched out his hand to me, and said lightly, "Ruo Xue, come out." I got out of the bar and asked him, "Is there anything wrong? Are you okay?" Guan Shichin hugged me in his arms, kissed me on the mouth quickly, looked at me blushing to the base of his neck. He smiled and turned his head to shout at the people in the cafe, "Everyone, you'll go out and help me take care of my wife. Don't let her be bullied." A fiery red sports car with a thief's eyes squeaked at the door of the Fong Group building, regardless of whether people were allowed to park at the door. Guan Shichen pulled out the key and got out of the car, casually pulled off his bangs, shook his head handsomely, and while walking into the building, he took out his mobile phone and called, "Mr. Fong, I am Guan Shichen of Guan Security. And I have something important to talk to you, which is related to your granddaughter." The other end of the phone was quiet for a long time before an old and majestic voice came. "I'm waiting for you in the office." Guan Shichen hung up the phone. His face was gone without his usual hippie smile, and he entered the elevator with a serious face. "Before I met Huang Mao and Chang Mao, I was almost kidnapped by them." After Guan Shichen found out, he immediately asked his subordinates to investigate, and found a bunch of my information without much effort. After reading it, he was angry and distressed. If it weren't for his subordinates patting his chest to ensure that the information was absolutely correct, he really couldn't believe that my brother Fong Zihan's grandfather and I were actually Fong Yicheng, chairman of the Fong Group. 25 years ago, Fong Yicheng's second son, that is, my father, fell in love with a poor cafe clerk, that is, my mother. How can a wealthy family tolerate this kind of improper door? My father and my mother eloped. Fong Yicheng was so angry that he broke off the father-son relationship with my father in the newspaper. It didn't take long for my brother and I to be born, but that didn't change anything. 25 years later, Fong Yicheng's mind has changed, because his eldest grandson, who has always been beloved, is the son of my aunt Tao Saihua, who is a complete prodigal, who knows nothing but picking up girls and spending money, and has quarreled with him several times because he asked for money. Later, he accidentally ran into my brother and me, and after checking, he found that my brother had a super high IQ, so he made up his mind to hand over the company to my brother and leave most of the property to me. Unexpectedly, this matter was leaked by the lawyer. Tao Saihua was completely anxious. She had been looking forward to her son inheriting the property as soon as possible, and as soon as she heard that she wanted to make a will, she immediately went to investigate. It just so happened that the leader of the Sirius gang was her distant relative, and she originally wanted the people of the Sirius gang to kidnap me and force me to give up my inheritance. But Guan Shichen intervened, and the people of the Sirius gang no longer dared to help her. She had no choice but to find Shen Qianshan again and let him chase me, and when I was with him, she would let her handle it. But she didn't expect Guan Shichen to come out to stir up the situation again. Shen Qianshan was so frightened that he lost the sentence "it's too scary" and ran away. Tao Saihua had no choice, so he could only come in person, wanting to make an appointment with me and force me to sign a contract for the transfer of property. But unfortunately, I met Guan Shichen again, and the plan was all in vain. Guan Shichen got out of the elevator, and Fong Yicheng's secretary was already waiting at the door, and quickly led him to Fong Yicheng's luxurious office. Fong Yicheng was sitting on a black leather sofa with a cane. He was so thin that he was hunched over. His cheeks were sunken. His eyes were not focused, and he looked lifeless. As soon as he saw Guan Shichen walking in high spirits, he raised his eyelids, and his eyes suddenly lit up. "Mr. Guan, please sit down." Guan Shichen was not polite at all, sat opposite him, and when the secretary brought black tea, he stared at Fong Yicheng directly, and looked at him carefully. Fong Yicheng couldn't hold his breath at first. "You say you want to talk to me about my granddaughter?" Guan Shichen was angry, and he didn't say anything good. 24 years. You have never fulfilled your grandfather's responsibilities, and now you remember to care about them. Don't you think it's too late? Fong Yicheng's face twitched slightly. "Mr. Guan, in what capacity are you accusing me? You don't have to worry about this, and you are not qualified to take care of it." Guan Zaiken's anger has not subsided. His face is tense and his eyes are narrowed into a slit. "In that case, you are not qualified to take care of my business. I am very busy. I will not accompany you." Fong Yicheng leaned on crutches and struggled to stand up. Guan Shichen also stood up suddenly. "Do you know how much trouble you have caused me by leaving the money to me?" Fong Yicheng was stunned for a moment. His eyes instantly became sharp, and his voice became tense. "What did you say?" "Trouble. In the past few days, some people want to kidnap me, and some people want to play with my feelings. And today your eldest daughter-in-law even ran to the cafe to trouble me." With a bang, Fong Yicheng smashed the floor with a cane. His face was distorted with anger, and his hand holding the crutch trembled. "That woman, she actually dared. Damn. I hope you can take back your will. I don't need your money. Even if I have 100 billion, I will donate it all to the orphanage, or live my own poor life. What I really need is him. A man who can take care of me for the rest of my life." Fong Yicheng glanced at Guan Shichen deeply. "You go. I have my own ideas about this matter. You don't have to worry about it. If you don't give me a satisfactory answer, I won't leave." Who is Guan Shichen? How can he be sent away so easily? Okay. Then let me tell you, I still have to leave the money to you. You are my own granddaughter, and you should have everything from me. I will hold a press conference as soon as possible to let you and your brother recognize their ancestors. As for you, if you are really interested in my granddaughter, you will propose in a well-mannered manner. Otherwise I will not let you two be together." Fong Yicheng had already had an idea in his heart. The palms and backs of his hands were all meat, but his grandson was really not a tool. No wonder he was cruel. Guan Shichen sneered. "Mr. Fong, Are you thinking too much? Do you think that if you want to recognize us back, we will recognize you? Fong Yicheng smiled mysteriously. Do you think that with the kindness of my granddaughter, you will not recognize me, a poor grandfather who is dying? You actually took advantage of her kindness. Guan Shichen was so angry that he really wanted to punch this old man. His little woman was just too kind to let him go so much. Young people, remember one sentence. Ginger is still old and spicy. Fong Yicheng walked to the door with difficulty on crutches and shouted, Secretary Wu, come with me. I have something for you to do. The older he gets, the more Fong Yicheng understands how outrageous he was before. And what is the use of having more money? Both sons were forced away by him. And the eldest son broke up with his poor girlfriend who had been in love for many years in order to be filial to him, and married Tao Saihua, but was mentally abused by Tao Saihua, coupled with high work pressure, and died of depression before 40. The second son, that is, my father, in order to be with my mother, resisted him, and then ran away from home. That day, my dad was so angry that he accused him of being wrong, but he refused to admit it and asked the bodyguards to drive my dad and mom away. After my uncle's death, Tao Saihua did not remarry, but secretly raised a little white face, and his precious grandson would do nothing but squander money. He was in his 70s, guarding an empty villa and a company that was powerless, with no one to accompany him or help him. And then he understood that money could not be exchanged for family affection. 2 years ago, he was not feeling well, so he went to the hospital for a checkup and was diagnosed with liver cancer. I walked to the door of my cafe and was hit. But fortunately I held him up and didn't fall. I also helped him teach the reckless boy a lesson, and warmly invited him to the cafe for free milk, saying that he was old and that drinking coffee hurt his stomach, which was the first time he felt real care. When we were chatting, he found out that I was his granddaughter, and he was surprised and happy. But then he was poured cold water, and I told him that my parents died in a car accident a month ago. He was so heartbroken that he almost couldn't survive. But seeing my optimistic appearance, he rekindled his hope of living and began treatment. Since then, he has often come to the cafe, pretending to be a lonely old man, looking at me and enjoying my care for him. But because of guilt and timidity, he has never dared to recognize me. Later, he met my brother, and from his brother's cold attitude towards him, he knew that my brother had known his identity for a long time. After he checked, he found out that my brother had an IQ of 109, and immediately decided to hand over the company to my brother, because my brother's personality is different from mine. He explained his identity to my brother alone, and sure enough, my brother knew for a long time, and rejected him, and warned him not to recognize me, otherwise he would take me away and let him never see our siblings for the rest of his life. Fong Yicheng had no choice but to agree. He knew that this was all a sin of his own making, and he deserved to be punished. Now Guan Shichen actually came to ask him to give up his love for me. That is impossible. Guan Shichen was hung in the office, so angry that he raised his foot and kicked off the sofa. He was really angry with him. He originally wanted Fong Yicheng to take back his will, but he was put aside. This old fox. No, absolutely not. He must not let me recognize my ancestors. I am his woman. It is enough to have him raise. I don't need this grandfather who has not cared about me for 24 years. To compensate me with money. Guan Shichen sat in his luxurious office and suddenly roared. What did you say? His eyes were bigger than a leopard. His usual elegance was gone, and his whole body was full of anger. His secretary repeated expressionlessly. Fong Yicheng sent someone to send his daughter-in-law and grandson to a small island in the Pacific Ocean to take care of them, where there was no contact with the outside world, and there was only one ship to send supplies every month, and they couldn't leave at all. With a bang, Guan Shichen slammed the table hard, almost smashing the table apart. He was so angry that he was about to buy Fang's shares and enter the Fong family. But Fong Yicheng, the old fox, actually came to such a trick. Where did he put his face? This old fox didn't figure it out. I am his woman. He can protect himself, and he doesn't have to meddle in this old guy's affairs at all. And Tao Saihua bullied me before and frightened me so much, and he hadn't had time to retaliate. The secretary said expressionlessly, Boss, why don't I find a few brothers and go to the island to play with the mother and son? Play. Everyone started first. I'm too late to do anything now. Fuck. Guan Shichen burst into foul language, hugged his arms, and gasped for breath. How about finding a brother to bring some laxatives to the island and let the mother and son eat it every day? Childish. Guan Shichen sneered. How could Guan Shichen do such a childish thing? He glanced at the secretary, stood up angrily, and walked out of the office. Boss, are you leaving? The secretary hurriedly followed. Well, I'm leaving. You look at the company. He was so annoyed now. He was in the first place. He was in no mood at all, and he wanted to swim to that island and strangle Tao Saihua to death. Boss, walk slowly. The secretary watched Guan Shichen enter the elevator and immediately picked up the phone. The boss just said that the idea was naive, and he didn't say that he was not allowed to do it. Guan Shichen drove the sports car, rushed all the way back to the cafe, stopped at the door, and was about to get out of the car when he saw a scene in the cafe. Damn it. He cursed and got out of the car quickly. By the window of the cafe, Fong Yicheng was sitting face to face with me, with a kind smile on his face, looking at me one after another. Ruoshue. Why are you getting thinner and thinner? Isn't it tiring to open a cafe? Don't do it. Grandpa will introduce you to a good man. Marry and enjoy happiness. I smiled shyly. Grandpa, I already have a boyfriend. Fong Yicheng raised his eyebrows. Oh, then what is his name? What does he do? And is he good to you? I lowered my head shyly and twisted my hands under the tablecloth. His name is Guan Shichin. He used to be a cowherd. I quickly looked up and explained. But he doesn't do it now. He hasn't done it since he was with me. He is good to me. And he also helps me look after the store, and goes out every day to find a job. Fong Yicheng was stunned. What? Is Guan Shichin a cowherd? Still looking for a job? What the hell is this kid doing? A few days ago, he pretended that my granddaughter was his wife, and came to provoke him, which actually made me misunderstand that he was a cowherd. Is this kid crazy? Hey, old grandpa, why don't you drink milk? It will be cold if you put it in again. Fong Yicheng glanced at the milk in front of him in disgust and turned his head to the side. I don't like to drink milk. You girl. I said I wanted to order Blue Mountain coffee, and you still made milk for me. Grandpa, I called out to him softly. You're so old. You can't drink coffee anymore. It hurts your stomach. Drink the milk quickly. Eat the sandwich. And go home when you're full. Fong Yicheng looked at me aggrievedly, reluctantly picked up the milk cup, and pouted like a child. What are you doing here? Guan Zaikan's vicious voice suddenly came, startling Fong Yicheng and me, and the two of us looked up at the same time and saw Guan Shichin walking in menacingly from outside. Guan Shichin, you're back. I hurriedly greeted him, muttering in my heart, why is he so angry today? Has he been abandoned by the financier again? Baba. I hurriedly scolded myself in my heart. Guan Shichin promised me that he would find a good job. I have to believe him. Guan Shichin walked up to me, pulled me up from his seat, hugged me tightly in his arms, and glared at Fong Yicheng viciously. What are you doing here? He was already holding back his anger because he lost to Fong Yicheng, but now when he saw him with me, his anger exploded directly. Fong Yicheng coughed softly, deliberately pretending to be sick. This is a cafe. Of course I came here to eat and drink. Is it possible that I can still buy clothes? Then you can eat quickly. Get out of here after eating. You are not welcome here. Guan Shichin drove people away unceremoniously, not afraid of scaring away other guests at all. Fong Yicheng raised his eyebrows calmly and looked at me with pitiful eyes. Ruoshue, who is this gentleman? Why is he so fierce? Guan Shichin, what are you crazy about? You scared the old man. I broke free from his arms angrily, crossed my waist, and glared at him. This bad guy. He actually didn't respect the old man. Ruoshue, do you know who he is? Guan Shichin was so anxious that he grabbed my shoulder and shouted in my ear. I looked at the poor Baba Fong Yicheng inexplicably, then at Guan Shichin, and said doubtfully, he is an old man. Who else can it be? Fong Yicheng showed a sly smile at this time, and then said, yes, who am I? You. Guan Shichin was so angry that he almost vomited blood. Damn it. He must not tell Ruoshue the identity of this old man. He grabbed my wrist, pulled me away, and absolutely couldn't let me stay with this old man anymore, in case he told the truth. With my kind temperament, no matter how bad he used to treat our siblings, as long as he said that he was a dying grandfather, I would definitely hug him and cry, feeling sorry for him. Guan Shichin, what are you doing? Let me go. I was pulled up by him and could only shout to Xiaomei, who was washing dishes at the bar. Xiaomei, save me. Xiaomei is so smart. When she saw Guan Shichin angry, she quickly pretended not to hear and buried her head in washing dishes. I couldn't ask for help, so I shouted to the beautiful customers in the store. Miss Chin, Miss Zhang, Miss Su, Miss Long, save me. These are all regular customers who have been in my store for several years. They should help me. Right. But like Xiaomei, they all bowed their heads to drink coffee sensibly, and they didn't even dare to look at Guan Shichin. Oh my god. They must have been deceived by Guan Zaikan's appearance. They didn't expect him to be so scary when he got angry, even more terrifying than Satan. The beauties didn't help me, so I shouted to the handsome guys in the store. Mr. Chi, Mr. Li, Mr. He, help. Since Guan Shichin took me to a dream salon, there have been a lot more male customers in the store, but they are quieter than the beauties, either looking up at the ceiling or lowering their heads to count toothpicks. No one is willing to help me. Woo woo. How could this happen? I was forced by him to walk out of the cafe, and before leaving, I didn't forget to shout, Xiaomei, remember to help the old man call a taxi. Pay me the car first. I will return it to you. Shut up for me. Guan Shichin was so angry that he stuffed me into the sports car, sat in the driver's seat by himself, and started running with a bang. I was so frightened by the speed at which he drove that I quickly grabbed the door armrest, glanced at him timidly, and still couldn't help but mutter, Guan Shichin, you are too much. That old man is so old. How can you treat him like that? He has no children and no daughters. How pitiful. He will be sad. No children, no daughters. Guan Shichin glared at me with gloomy eyes. That's what he told you. I blinked and said doubtfully, yes. What's wrong? Is he worse than having no children? You, forget it. Guan Shichin was so angry that I almost drove the car to hit the train. How could there be such a stupid woman in the world? However, fortunately, she is so stupid. That. Guan Shichin, where are you taking me? I looked at the unfamiliar road outside the window, and I felt a little panicked. Go get married. Guan Zikin's tone was hard. Fang Yicheng, the old fox, wanted to fight him, but he wanted to see who could win. My mouth was wide open. My eyes were staring like eggs. I couldn't say a word. I had just been dating him for a long time. Why did I suddenly get married? No, I have no money. He hasn't found a job. I have a hard time raising him, and I have to have children when I get married, and I can't afford to raise him at all. Also, I haven't told my brother yet. If he knows that I will marry without telling him, he will have to beat me to death. Guan Shichen didn't look at me at all, took out his mobile phone and called. Bye. Give you half an hour. Take your ID card and seal, and hurry to the marriage registry office. If you don't do anything else, I want to get married. He took the phone away. And when Lu Erba's roar on the other end of the phone stopped, he put it in his ear again. I'm driving. Don't say much. If we can't get there in half an hour, we will break off relations. After saying that, without waiting for Lu Erbai to refute, he hung up the phone, called the secretary again, asked him to go to the marriage registry office with his ID card and seal within 10 minutes, and threatened to fire him if he couldn't say anything. I was frightened by his fierce tone and whispered, I don't have a seal. I can't get married today, although I like him very much. It's too early to get married. Don't worry, there must be a seal engraved near the marriage registry office, and it won't cost a few dollars. Guan Shichen glared at me. His tone was very rushed. Damn it, why does this woman look like she doesn't want to marry him? Oh my god. His Grace. Hippie smile, all gone. Now he is like a time bomb, about to explode at any time, and his woman cannot protect himself. This feeling is too aggrieved. I was so frightened by him that I didn't dare to speak, so I lowered my head obediently and wailed in my heart. I wouldn't just marry like this. Would I? He didn't even propose. Even if he was poor and didn't have flowers and rings, at least discuss it with me. It's too much. Passing by a photo studio, Guan Shichen pulled me out of the car, took a photo of the marriage certificate, engraved 2 seals at the door of the marriage registry office, and deliberately took a detour to the jewelry store where his mother frequented, bought a pair of wedding rings from the treasure of the town store, and then pulled me into the marriage registry office with a swagger. And Lu Erbai and his secretary were witnesses. An hour and a half later, Guan Shichen and I officially became husband and wife. I sat in the car with a sad face. I was definitely the worst bride in the world. I got married without even wearing a wedding dress. How I envy those girls who dress beautifully and get married. Guan Shichen held the marriage certificate, in a good mood, whistling and driving the car. The little stupid guy is now his wife. See what else can Fang Yicheng do with that old fox. In front of it is a green grassland, on which are built many beautiful villas, all with white walls and blue tiles, like the romantic Aegean Sea, which is particularly beautiful. Guan Shichen drove the car into the courtyard of one of the villas, parked at the door, got out of the car and went around to me, and took me out of the car with self-pity. I looked at this luxurious villa, instantly woke up, and asked stupidly, Guan Shichen, where is this? Call me husband. Guan Shichen didn't answer me and corrected my title. I blushed and couldn't scream. Young master, you're back. A chunky housekeeper ran over quickly. Guan Shichen nodded coolly. Butler Chin, where is my mother? Madam is drinking tea in the living room. Butler Chin followed him respectfully, looking at me curiously from time to time. Young master, who is this? My wife. Call me young grandma. Guan Shichen introduced proudly. Young grandma. Butler Chin shouted in shock. I was pulled into the living room by Guan Shichen. Looking at the splendid appearance inside, I was completely dumbfounded, and asked, Guan Shichen, who is he? Why do you call you young master and young grandma? You'll know later. Guan Shichen took me to the sofa, threw the marriage certificate in front of a woman who was drinking tea elegantly, hugged me and sat opposite her, crossed Erlang's legs, and said proudly, Ms. Lin, let me introduce you to you. This is my wife Fang Ruoxue, who I just married today. Wife, call me mom. Haven't you been urging me to get married? And now that I'm married, I'm satisfied. Right. Butler Chin brewed 2 bowls of the best pour tea that my friend gave me, and I was thirsty. My eyes widened at the same time as the woman. I stared like an egg, and she stared like a duck egg. Mom, wife, we both shouted at the same time. The woman, that is, Lin Chiwei, reacted first and asked Guan Shichen, are you married? I looked at Guan Shichen with monster eyes. Isn't she the proprietress of a high-end restaurant who takes care of you? How did you become your mother? I'm the proprietress who takes care of you. Lin Chiwei's voice instantly raised an octave, walked to Guan Zikin's side, grabbed his ear, and roared, dead boy, tell me clearly, when will I become the proprietress who takes care of you? She finally understood why we said those strange things when we saw us in the White Dream Salon last time. It turned out that this stinky boy was choreographing her. Ouch. It hurts. Mom, let go of me. I'm married. Save me some face. Guan Shichen wailed. It's too difficult for men these days. If you don't get married, your ears will suffer. And if you get married, your ears will suffer. If you don't make it clear today, don't think about getting out of this house. Lin Chiwei was so angry that she had to ask clearly. It's not you. Don't let me call you mother. Only let me call you Ms. Lin. And you made this misunderstanding. Only then did Guan Shichen realize that the problem was here. I looked at them both dumbly, unable to believe it. Is she really your mother? Isn't Guan Shichin a cowherd? Lin Chiwei opened and closed Saiken's ears, clapped her hands gracefully, sat back on the sofa, looked me up and down a few times, and said arrogantly, "That's right. He was born to me. My own son. You're not a cowherd." I looked at Lin Chiwei, then at Guan Shichin, and I was completely stunned. Lin Chiwei heard the word cowherd and raised her eyebrows. Guan Shichin didn't notice the danger, and nodded dashingly. "Yes, I never said that I was a cowherd. You always misunderstood it yourself. So, you weren't abandoned by the 4 sponsors and homeless." My eyes slowly became cold, and I felt a little angry. "Silly girl. I'm teasing you." Guan Shichin pinched my face dotingly. I leaned in front of him, stared at him and asked, "So, you are rich?" Guan Shichin pecked the tip of my nose and said with a smile, "It's a little money. Marry me, and I guarantee that I won't be hungry to you." "Then you said you were looking for a job these days, but you actually went to the company to do business." I blinked, still a little incredulous. "Yes. Just go to the company to do business." "Oh," I dragged on and asked. "Then you know that I misunderstood. Why didn't you explain?" Guan Shichin scratched his chin and smiled perfunctorily. "I'm too lazy to explain." "Just because you are too lazy to explain, you keep lying to me." My eyes were on fire, and I slowly stood up from his arms. Guan Shichin hadn't noticed yet, still smiling hippily. "If I don't lie to you, how can you take me in?" With a pop, a crisp slap sounded in the living room. Lin Chiwei was stunned, and I actually slapped Guan Shichin. She knows her son too well. She usually looks giggling. In fact, her temper is very explosive. Even she only dares to pull his ears. This girl actually dares to slap him. It's incredible. "Guan Shichin, I want to divorce you." I stared at Guan Shichin, who was stupid, and ran out quickly. Stinky man. Actually lied to me. Used my sympathy, played with me, even if I liked him no matter how much I liked him. I had to divorce him, so I wouldn't marry a liar. If Ruoshue. Guan Shichin reacted, quickly jumped up from the sofa and chased out. "What are you kidding? He has grown so big. This is the first time he has been slapped in the face, and when he catches this girl, he has to spank her properly." Well, he admitted that at first he wanted to punish her, so he defaulted to being a cowherd, but then he really fell in love with her, and even did not hesitate to marry her. She was so angry. Moreover, it hurts a lot for this girl to beat people. Lin Chiwei looked at her son's back chasing out, and laughed secretly. This daughter-in-law, she liked it. No matter what her origin was, she recognized this daughter-in-law, and now she finally knew her son's weakness. She slowly picked up the marriage certificate and carefully put it away. "Ruoshue, what are you crazy about?" Guan Shichin finally caught up with me, grabbed my arm, and roared angrily, "You big liar. Let me go." I don't know where the strength came from, so I shook off his hand, raised my hand and slapped him again, and with a pop, it was loud and crisp. Immediately afterwards, I raised my foot and kicked him on the calf, and Guan Shichin screamed in pain and jumped around holding his legs. "Humph." I rolled my eyes at him, snorted coldly, turned around and ran again. "Fang Ruoshue, stop for me." Guan Shichin is also on fire. This woman actually dares to slap him twice. She doesn't want to live. But I ignored him at all and ran faster. "His grandma's." Guan Shichin scolded, bending over and rubbing his calves. How did he become so weak? Wasn't it easy to dodge these 2 slaps and a kick? Damn. He quickly jumped into the sports car. It was far from here to my house. The transportation was inconvenient. I was pulled out by him in a hurry. I definitely didn't bring a wallet. With my dead brain, I would definitely not take a taxi first and then pay. He was reluctant to let my little feet suffer. He followed me with a sports car that could drive 280 kilometers to a speed of 3 kilometers per hour, lowered his posture, and begged, "Ruoshue, get in the car. It'll take you home." I rolled my eyes at him, ignored him, and continued to walk forward with great vigor. "But why is this road so long?" "Ruoshue, I really didn't mean to lie to you," Guan Shichin complained in his heart. He was actually bowing his head to a little woman. If others found out, how would he mess around in the future? I rolled my eyes at him again, but still didn't speak. "Ruoshue, think about it. You were the first to insist that I was a cowherd." He pretended to be pitiful and wanted to put the blame on me. I paused in my footsteps, didn't look back, and continued to walk forward. "But you clearly knew that I misunderstood. But you didn't explain. You deliberately lied to me. And in the middle of the night that day, it was you who told me that you were abandoned by the financier and homeless." I suddenly thought about it clearly, and all the causes and consequences were strung together, and I instantly saw that Guan Shichin was a big liar. Guan Shichin directly blocked the car on the road, and immediately got out of the car and opened his arms to stop me domineeringly. I was forced to stop, pouting angrily. "Fang Ruoshue, can you use your stupid brain to think about it? If it were you, you would be called a cowherd everywhere for no reason. Can you not be angry? Even so, it's your fault if you don't explain it to me. Please figure it out. I was so angry with you at the beginning. I just wanted to take revenge on you in my head, and I didn't bother to explain it to you nonsense." As soon as these words were spoken, Guan Shichin almost bit off his tongue, and secretly cursed in his heart. How could he let me know that he approached me in the first place for revenge? And sure enough, after hearing this, tears fell from my eyes. I trembled all over, stretched out my finger and choked up. It turns out, you approached me at first, all to take revenge on me. Guan Shichin panicked when he saw me crying, and quickly stepped forward and hugged me tightly into his arms and coaxed me softly. Baby, listen to me. I did think so at first, but then I fell deeply in love with you. Otherwise how could I marry you? Don't be angry anymore. Okay. He sighed helplessly in his heart. This life is planted in my hands. As long as he sees me shed tears, all the cold and backbone are left behind, and he can't get up at all in front of me. Woo woo. Let go of me, Guan Shichin. I want to divorce you. So I don't want to marry a big liar who is full of calculations and deliberately retaliates against me. I struggled desperately in his arms to resist, but he was too strong. I couldn't break free no matter how hard I earned. At this moment, a black Mercedes-Benz slowly stopped on the side of the road. Fang Yicheng pushed the door and got out of the car, and when he saw the scene in front of him, his face immediately changed drastically, and he asked loudly, Guan Shichin, what did you do to my Ruoxue? Why did she cry like this? He just finished the routine physical examination and was about to go home. The driver saw the two people on the side of the road looking familiar, stopped the car and saw that it was us, and when he got out of the car, he bumped into the picture of me crying and being held in Guan Zaikan's arms. Without thinking about it, he knew that I must have been bullied, and immediately ordered the two bodyguards accompanying him, hurry up and pull them away. The bodyguard immediately stepped forward to do it. Guan Shichin saw Fang Yicheng appear and only felt that his head was extremely big. But he refused to hand me over when he said nothing, and immediately protected me behind him. He easily put down the two bodyguards with a few sharp punches and feet, and his aura was super strong in a state of rage. And then he glared at Fang Yicheng with cold eyes. What your Ruoxue? Let me tell you, she is now my wife, and she has rightfully married me. It's not your turn to intervene. Grandpa, I seemed to grab a life-saving straw, and while he was unprepared, I rushed out from behind him and threw myself into Fang Yicheng's arms and cried loudly, Woo-woo Grandpa. Guan Shichin is a complete liar. He deliberately pretended to be a cowherd to lie to me. Obviously super rich and always hidden. Even marrying me is calculated. I must divorce him. Divorce. Dreaming. Unless I die. Guan Shichin stepped forward quickly, stretched out his hand and dragged me back into his arms and held me firmly, feeling angry and helpless. Obviously he had already married me, and I was still holding on to the trivial things in the past, which was really unreasonable. Fang Yicheng's eyes were cold, and he stared at Guan Shichin with sharp eyes. If you don't give me a reasonable explanation, I will go directly to your parents to have a good talk. He was dissatisfied from the bottom of his heart. I am his precious granddaughter anyway. And the other party hastily got the certificate from me like this. And there was not even a decent wedding. It was too perfunctory. It's useless for you to find anyone. It's not your turn to point fingers on our husband and wife's affairs. Guan Shichin laughed disdainfully on his face. I am Ruoxu's own grandfather. I am naturally qualified to take care of it. Fang Yicheng was completely angry, knocked the crutches in his hand, and approached step by step. Ruoxue, come to my side. With me, no one dares to bully you. As soon as these words came out, Guan Shichin and I were all stunned on the spot. No one expected that Fang Yicheng would directly confess his grandfather's identity at this time. I took the opportunity to break free from the shackles of switching Shichin, quickly walked to Fang Yicheng's side to help him. His red rabbit eyes were full of doubts. Grandpa, why did you suddenly become my own grandfather? Good boy, come home with me first. I'll slowly tell you all the truth. Guan Shichin coldly curled the corners of his lips, his eyes full of mockery, since Fang Yicheng had to tear his face. Then don't blame him for being merciless, and directly opened his mouth to expose everything. Let me tell you the truth. He is indeed your biological grandfather. Back then your parents were in free love, and they had to be together to live and die, and they were ruthlessly kicked out of the house. And they had long severed the father-son relationship. To put it bluntly, even if there was a blood relationship, he and your mother and daughter had no affection at all. My mind was in chaos in an instant. Looking back and forth at the two people in front of him, he cautiously asked, Grandpa, is what he said true? Fang Yicheng's face was tense and silent for a moment, and finally nodded slowly. That's right. What he said is all the truth. So, are you really my grandfather? Yes, I am your own grandfather. Then you have known me for the past 2 years. And you have long known that I am your granddaughter. Right. Fang Yicheng nodded silently and acquiesced. Grievances and sadness welled up in his heart for a moment. Tears couldn't stop falling madly. I couldn't stop. I cried. Guan Shichin and Fang Yicheng panicked. Guan Shichin immediately hugged me and comforted me softly. Don't cry. Okay, don't be sad. Fang Yicheng was even more angry. He carefully concealed his identity and stayed with me for 2 years, afraid that I wouldn't be able to accept the sadness, but was completely pierced by Guan Zaikan's words, making me cry. And now it can't end at all. Woo-woo. You all cooperated to deceive me. It's too much. I cried aggrieved and accused the two of them. Guan Shichin immediately lowered his head to admit his mistake, put down all his figure and face, and apologized to me one by one. I'm sorry, I was wrong. I shouldn't keep hiding it from you. I wiped my tears and reached out to him for a mobile phone. Lend me your mobile phone for a while. Guan Shichin was confused. He could only obediently hand over the mobile phone. I dialed the number randomly with blurred tears and cried with a crying voice as soon as I connected. Woo woo little brother. They all lied to me. Guan Shichin is not a cowherd at all. And the old man is not an ordinary old man. The two of them joined forces to hide from me. I want a divorce. As soon as the words fell, I was suddenly stunned. My tears stopped instantly, and I asked in surprise, "Are you back? You'll be home soon, right?" I was full of joy waiting for my brother to come back to support me, but I didn't notice that the faces of the two men next to me were extremely dark, and then handed the mobile phone to Guan Shichin and said lightly, "My brother wants to talk to you." The picture turned. The door of the coffee shop was closed and closed. A total of 4 people in the house sat together. Fang Yicheng and Guan Shichin sat on one side. I sat with my brother Fang Jihan, who had just returned to China. Fang Jihan had a suitcase at his feet, and Xiaomei, the part-time worker at the bar, secretly poked her head and brain, curious to eavesdrop on the movements on our side. I babbled and complained to my brother frantically, telling all the things about Guan Shichin pretending to be a cowherd and deceiving people, and the old man hiding his grandfather's identity. Tears couldn't stop falling. Fang Jihan took out a tissue, gently helped me wipe the tears on my face, lazily glanced at the two people opposite, and comforted softly. "How ugly it is to cry like a little flower cat." After saying that, he opened his suitcase, took out a set of skincare kits bought in France and handed them to me. "Go to the bathroom to wash your face well. Do a simple skin care and apply a mask. Don't cry your skin." I obediently got up and walked to the bathroom, feeling a lot more at ease. With my younger brother here, I will definitely be able to help me get justice. After I left, Fang Jihan put away his gentle expression. His eyes fell on Guan Shichin. His tone was straightforward and sharp. "Let me ask you, have you already had a relationship with my sister?" Guan Zaikin's face was instantly embarrassed. Facing this brother-in-law with a strong aura, he inexplicably lost his confidence, and he knew in his heart that Fang Jihan had a deep mind, full of oppression, and was by no means a good person. And then Fang Jihan turned his head to look at Fang Yicheng, with a questioning tone. "You clearly promised me that you would never reveal your identity and would not let my sister know the truth." "It's not what I said. It's all his mouth talking nonsense." Fang Yi set up a horse and threw the pot, never mentioning that he had long planned to let our siblings recognize their ancestors and return to their ancestors. Fang Zihan's temperament instantly became cold. A pair of exquisite and beautiful eyes stared at Guan Shichin closely, and asked word by word, "I just have one question. Do you love my sister or not?" "I love." Without hesitation, Guan Shichin replied extremely firmly. He had long loved him so much that he couldn't extricate himself, willing to let go of all arrogance and accommodate me. "Since I really love her, why do you rush to get married? There is not even a sense of ceremony at all. We just register in advance to get the certificate. The grand wedding will be arranged immediately, no matter how luxurious or grand. As long as you make a request, I will meet all of them." Guan Shichin can see that my brother is in charge of all the big and small things in the family, and only by getting Fang Jihan can he keep me steadily. "Okay, then I will make it clear that let your parents come to my grandfather in person to propose marriage. And the bride price will be at least 2 villas plus 30 million deposits. If you can't meet this standard, just sign the divorce agreement directly." Fang Yicheng on the side instantly turned red when he heard this, full of excitement. "Jihan, are you willing to recognize me as a grandfather? You are less self-righteous. It is my sister who is willing to recognize you. I will not recognize you." Fang Jihan had a cold attitude. He had his own plan in his heart. First, I already knew the truth. Insisted on recognizing my grandfather. He couldn't stop it. Secondly, Guan Shichin had a bad reputation in the past, and his family had a strong foundation, so he had to use Fang Yicheng's identity to raise his value and support me, so that I wouldn't be wronged when I got married. Fang Yicheng was reprimanded and not angry, quietly closed his mouth and didn't say much. Guan Shichin was full of worries about me in the bathroom, and quickly asked, "Then what will my sister do next?" "Don't worry, keep to yourself within 3 months. And after 3 months, the scenery will marry her." 3 months is too long. I can't live without her for a day. This is the bottom line. In these 3 months, if you break out the slightest ambiguous scandal, the wedding will be cancelled directly, and the marriage will be completely invalidated. Fang Jihan knows that Guan Zaikin's past bad deeds must be polished and tested to ensure that he can treat me wholeheartedly. There is no room for negotiation. Leave your contact information. You can leave first, and I will contact you later. Fang Zihan's aura is fully open, strongly grasping the audience. Guan Shichin hesitated for a moment, could only take out his business card and hand it over and get up and leave. Secretly made up his mind in his heart. Even if he couldn't meet brightly, he could secretly climb the window and sneak to find me at night. No one could stop him. Fang Yicheng hurriedly stepped forward and asked, "Then what should I do now?" "Just go home honestly and wait for the proposal. Don't worry about anything else." "Then the family company. Do you want to take over?" "Not interested. Hurry up. I'm tired from taking a long-haul flight and need to rest." Fang Jihan directly issued an eviction order. Fang Yicheng could only leave slowly on crutches, feeling particularly satisfied. Even if there was only a little progress, sooner or later the relationship could be eased. Not long after, I packed up and came out of the bathroom, and saw that my brother was the only one left in the room with a puzzled face. Shihan, why did the two of them leave? Sister, sit down. I'll have a good chat with you. I sat down obediently and listened carefully to my brother's words. To be honest, before you knew he lied to you, did you like Guan Shichin for a long time? I was a little shy as I clenched my fingers, and nodded softly. I like him. What do you like about him? He's super handsome. He will take the initiative to help me take care of the coffee shop, sell coffee, protect me when it's critical, help me drive away the bad guys, and have always been very good to me. Then tell me, where did he lie to you and make you so angry and aggrieved? He is obviously not a cowherd. After I misunderstood him, he never explained, and deliberately rented my house to deliberately approach. At the beginning, you casually slandered him as a cowherd, and if others were slandered like this, he would definitely be angry and retaliate. His small move at the beginning was just a simple gamble, but he shouldn't have kept it hidden, and he didn't tell me clearly from beginning to end. What would you say if it were you? Tell you bluntly that he is the eldest young master of a wealthy family. You were so disgusted with rich people at that time. You would only drive him away directly, and finally you secretly regretted it. I lowered my head and pondered for a long time, compromising in a low voice. It seems that it is also. Then I will apologize to him when I go back. It's not enough to apologize. Take care of your little temper. Wait with peace of mind to be a bride. Don't shed tears at every turn. No man can withstand your tear offensive. I know. I hesitated for a long time and asked in a low voice. That old grandpa, is he really our own grandfather? That's right. Blood ties can't be wrong. Then why did he hide from me for 2 years and never dare to recognize each other? Did he hate me and my mother very much? He was full of guilt. He did something wrong back then, and he didn't dare to face you. You just need to accompany him more in the future and be filial. I instantly relented, thinking of the way my grandfather lived alone without anyone to accompany me, and I was particularly distressed. Then I will go back and pack my luggage and move to my grandfather's house to live with him. In the middle of the night, I was sleeping heavily, and suddenly felt a warm and soft touch coming from my mouth and face, and suddenly woke up, and saw an enlarged handsome face in front of me, which startled me. Guan Shichin, how did you end up here? Guan Shichin, who sneaked into the room in the middle of the night, immediately covered my mouth and lowered his voice. Don't speak quietly. I gently pulled his hand away and spoke softly. I have a lot to say to you. He lowered his head and kissed me gently on the lips, asking gently, what do you want to say? I'm sorry. It's all because I'm too willful. I misunderstand you indiscriminately, and I'm too ignorant to lose my temper and get awkward with you. I forgive you, but you are not allowed to lose your temper and file for divorce in the future. Remember. He gently bit the tip of my nose full of pampering, just a few days apart. Longing has long been flooded. It took a lot of effort to sneak in to see me. I nodded obediently. My fingertips gently rubbed his hair, and his low and hoarse voice came from my ears. Do you miss me? I think. I especially want to. How much do you miss it? Super thinking about you all the time. His eyes were affectionate and focused in the dark, locking my gaze tightly, and asked gently, then do you love me? My heart soared. My cheeks instantly turned red. I mustered up the courage to nod heavily, and responded in a low voice. I love you. I have always loved you. I love you too. Only you alone. The words fell. The gentle kiss slowly fell. The night was ambiguous and gentle, and the love in my heart all turned into lingering tenderness, wrapping me tightly.